Chapter 790. The fleet went against the current. When they arrived at the capital and were about to head north, the little eunuch Luo led a group of people to deliver a lot of things. He found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and whispered to them, "When I came, His Majesty said that you too must ensure the safety of the little prince and the little princess. His Majesty will not send anyone to get close to them for any reason, unless he uses pigeons to send a letter to you too. Therefore, anyone who tries to get close to them for any other reason is to be killed. Right?" Zhang Xiaobao finished Luo Bin's words. "Yes, it is for the two of you to consider." "Yes, consider." Luo Bin nodded vigorously. He didn't feel any murderous intent from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, but he knew that the two of them would never be soft-hearted when they killed people. Seeing the people on the fleet change from the big boats to the small boats, he thought about it and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Little Gongzi, the price of the blue sea silver sand has been decreasing recently. Between the clouds and the water is under a lot of pressure. If it weren't for the different reputations of Savant's Restaurant and Success House, it would probably be affected as well." "Thank you." Zhang Xiaobao took out a pearl and stuffed it into Luo Bin's hands. He said to him, "Go back and tell adoptive father that there is no need to worry about this. Everything is under control." "Yes," little Gongzi said, "that everything will be under control. Then I will take my leave." After the exchange of things, Luo Bin stood on the shore and watched the small boats leave. He let out a sigh of relief and ordered, "Come back with me. For 3 days, you are not allowed to contact anyone else." The small boats headed toward Huayuan on the newly cleared river. The cold wind whistled along the river. Xiao Bei and the others, who wanted to see the scenery, had no choice but to run into the cabin to hide after they were blown to tears. They complained to each other about who suggested the idea of seeing the scenery. Wu Huifei finally couldn't help but make a move. "Let's see how many people want to deal with us. They all show up together so that we can deal with them." Wang Wan climbed up to a special lookout stand on the boat. She used her binoculars to look at the surrounding terrain. She found that there was no ambush for the time being, so she climbed down and said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his face that was numb from the wind and nodded. "Yes, it will come eventually. If we can't avoid it, we will face it head-on. Without competition, there will be no motivation. Let's see how Jianglan can develop the blue sea silver sand without losing money. Let's see how Song Jinggong will deal with it. Xiaobao, Jianglan won't leak the secret, right? What do you think Wu Huifei will do next?" "I don't think it's possible for her to just use the blue sea silver sand to deal with between the clouds and the water. Originally, she was going to use the sea between the clouds and the water to go against them, but in the end, the secret was exposed, and that plan was ruined." As Wang Wan spoke, she hugged Zhang Xiaobao and used Zhang Xiaobao to block the wind. The bank. She found someone to deposit so much money. Isn't it because she wants to withdraw it all at once in the most remote place of the bank? She wants to use this to attack me. Withdraw it, withdraw it. After this, the great Tang Bank will be able to issue small amounts of large amounts of money. We must first take precautions against counterfeiting. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. At the foot of Yaowang Mountain, there was still a tide of people waiting for the mountain to open. In a courtyard on the mountain, Empress Wang, who had just finished her confinement, held a wrinkled baby in each hand and fed him milk. Seeing the two little guys open their eyes, Wei, Empress Wang had a happy expression on her face. For her, these two children were not just flesh and blood. They were also the guarantee of her identity and status. In the future, she would count on these two children. "Your Majesty, why don't you find a wet nurse? After all, the little prince and the little princess are two different people." Xiao Zhu rested her chin on her hand. Seeing the two little guys drinking milk, she was also happy. "No need. This empress will feed them myself. Ordinary people can't feed these two children because they don't eat well. On Yaowang Mountain, this empress has been eating things that are good for milk recently. This empress can't feed them for long. Once Xiao Bao and Cuckoo arrive, they will have to go with them." Sigh. Empress Wang already knew the fate of the two children and was very reluctant to part with them. Xiao Zhu also felt sad. Your Majesty, why don't you let Xiao Zhu go with them? What's the use of you going with them? When it comes to taking care of children, there is no one in Great Tang who can do better than the Zhang family and the Wang family. If they are really raised in the palace, it is better to send them to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. As long as they can be like Xiao Bei, it is fine. Empress Wang thought of Wu Huifei's first child, Li Yi. She had taken good care of him, but he still died early. It was better to send him away. Xiao Zhu reached out to touch the little princess's face, but was blocked by the little princess's hand. She said, Your Majesty, the Zhang family and the Wang family are very capable. Shouldn't we let the little prince learn the way of the emperor? She said this very carefully. Her voice was so soft that it couldn't be heard from a distance. Empress Wang's expression changed immediately. After a while, she said, Now that the crown prince is here, there are other princes. My son shouldn't fight for it. A stable life is also a blessing. The way of the emperor is ruthless. Why? Empress Wang didn't doubt that the masters of the Zhang family and the Wang family didn't know the way of the emperor. Look at Xiao Bao's strategy, look at Cuckoo's method of control, and look at how Xiao Bei and the others were liked by the emperor. If they didn't know the way of the emperor, how could they be stable? Especially Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. There were many things that they couldn't do, but they couldn't do. Plus, with the skills that she learned last time, who would believe that the masters of the Zhang family and the Wang family didn't know? Xiao Zhu felt a little regretful, but she understood that if one wanted to be a good emperor, he couldn't be a good man and a good father. Otherwise, which father would be willing to marry his daughter to someone else? In the eyes of the emperor, everyone could be used. Princess Donghua was originally going to be married to Li Xiaogu. Later, because of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's stubbornness, she stayed. Li Xiaogu didn't dare to find trouble, but he suddenly kept silent. If it weren't for the two of them, Princess Donghua would have been married. Your Highness, it's better to let the Zhang family and the Wang family decide what the little prince and princess can learn. I heard that Wu Huifei wants to make a move on Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. I don't know what happened. She has already made a move. The price of the blue sea silver sand at Yaowang Mountain has been decreasing. Many people who were originally going to between the clouds and the water have been pulled over. It's all because of me. If Cuckoo hadn't found me back then, I might have been banished to the cold palace. Wu Huifei, I've learned a lot. Empress Wang only understood what the Taoist priest wanted to do later. She had almost experienced Wu Huifei's ability. She also knew the ability of Cuckoo's side. How could they predict so accurately? Your Highness, won't Xiao Bao and Cuckoo be at a disadvantage? Xiao Zhu was very worried. Chapter 791. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's journey was very smooth. No one suddenly jumped out to ambush them. Many officials from Yaozhou had come. The two of them were anxious to see the little ones and did not meet them. They only sent someone to deliver a letter to He Wei, encouraging him. When the two of them arrived at Yaowang Mountain and saw Empress Wang, the two little ones were already sleeping next to each other. Just like watching rare animals, Xiao Bei and the others looked at the little ones one by one. Their mouths were still moving while they were sleeping. So small. Xiao Bei measured the two little ones' height with his hand. You're not big either. Xiao Yuan added, I'm still bigger than them. In the future, they'll be under my protection. No one is allowed to bully them. Xiao Bei reached out and touched the little girl's mouth. The little one, whose mouth was still moving, turned her head towards Xiao Bei's finger, wanting to suck on it. Empress Wang had people bring over a lot of food. She glanced at the two children and asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in a low voice, When are you leaving? Why don't you stay at Yaowang Mountain for a few more days? We'll leave after 2 days. We'll go to the capital with your majesty and take charge of the Tang Bank. Trouble is coming. Zhang Xiaobao knew that Empress Wang was reluctant to part with her children, but she had no choice. Empress Wang looked at her children again. After thinking for a while, she asked, "Is it Wu Huifei who's causing trouble for you? Blue Sea Silver Sand has stolen a lot of business from between the clouds and the water." She asked for it. "Your Majesty doesn't need to worry about Blue Sea Silver Sand. This summer, a new chain restaurant will appear. It will form a tripartite balance of power with Blue Sea Silver Sand and between the clouds and the water. They will compete and develop with each other. The trouble is with the bank. Someone is depositing a lot of money in the capital. Presumably, they want to go to the most remote Tang bank to withdraw it." Zhang Xiaobao was telling Empress Wang some things. Empress Wang was not stupid. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's confident words, she immediately understood. She looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in confusion and asked, "Why did you find yourself an opponent?" "The first is for balance, and the second is for progress. If one party is strong, they will lose the motivation to develop if they lack a sense of crisis. They are born in worries and die in peace and happiness. It's just that they are prepared for danger in times of peace. It's the same for business and politics. It's the same for one party and the other. Nothing in the world goes beyond that." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he dipped his hand into the tea and drew a Tai Chi diagram on the table. He said, "Yin and Yang, blending with each other and moving with the momentum. Yang turns into Yin, and Yin follows Yang. Just like a bicycle, it's the most stable when moving." Empress Wang nodded. Although she couldn't understand the deeper meaning, she knew the general idea. She seemed to be talking to herself. "Speaking of which, the harem should also be moved. Can the bank handle it? It's my fault for causing trouble for you too. If it weren't for this, why would Wu Huifei target you too?" Wang Wan smiled and said, "Your Majesty, you don't have to think like that. Xiao Bao and I have been waiting for her to make a move. It's better for her to make a move than others. Sooner or later, there will be people who will cause trouble for the bank. It's better to do it in the open. After this, the bank can be stable for a long time." Really? Even though Empress Wang already thought that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could handle it, she still asked with uncertainty, "Of course. Do they have names?" Wang Wan replied with certainty. She turned her head to look at the two little guys sleeping there. Speaking of the children, Empress Wang's face showed a motherly smile. "Yes, one is called Li Jun, and the other is called Pan. After this farewell, I don't know when I can see them again. Ah. Wait until Xiao Bao and I deal with the trivial matters in Jili province. In the future, we will be able to see each other at least twice a year. Yang, don't worry. Jun and Pan will not suffer any grievances at our place. At that time, I will find a wet nurse for them. The next time Yang sees them, you will see two white and chubby little guys." Wang Wan knew that it was too cruel for any mother to let the children leave her side. But what could she do? Did she dare to leave the two little guys in the palace? The only thing she could do was to try her best to guarantee. "Ah, fine, I will return to the capital with you the day after tomorrow. His Majesty has already sent someone to ask when we will return. It's on the way. The Commander-in-Chief of Song Mo's Manor is very ambitious. You have opposed him time and time again. Be careful that he will do something bad to you. I know. He actually wants autonomy. It would be best if he becomes a vassal state of the Tang Empire. Then he will gradually become independent. If he doesn't send troops, Xiao Bao will slowly deal with him. At that time, even if he wants to send troops, he will have no troops to send. If he is in a hurry to send troops, it will be even better. If he thinks that others can't do anything to him because of the advantage of the terrain, I will let him know what special jungle warfare is. If it really doesn't work, I will burn the mountains on his side." Wang Wan had never thought much of the Khitans. The main reason was that the Khitans were now divided into various tribes. The total population was not large. If they really fought, it would be enough to divide them. When the time came, they would send the Khitans to Shuzhou or Baoxing County. What kind of trouble could they cause? Empress Wang also knew a lot about war. Seeing Wang Wan's indifferent appearance, she reminded her with concern, "Cuckoo, be careful not to push him too far. He will take his tribesmen to the Turks. It is not good for our dynasty to send an army to attack the Turks. If he really dares to go to the Turks, it will be even better. I will fight the Turks as well. I am worried that I won't have a place to use my new weapon. How big is it? It will be good to know its weaknesses and strengths. It will increase the speed of research. As Wang Wan was speaking, Pan was woken up by Xiao Bei's kiss. She was sleeping comfortably. When she opened her eyes and saw that she didn't recognize anyone and that there was no one she could rely on, she opened her mouth and cried. Xiao Bei embarrassedly stuck out his tongue, crying, "This child. Come, give her to me." Empress Wang smiled as she picked up her daughter. She shook her, coaxed her, and quickly fell asleep again. 2 days later, everyone set out. Empress Wang's group was not small. The people in charge of protection rode along the banks and following the flow of the river toward the capital. The people who had been waiting for a long time at the foot of Yaowang Mountain finally let out a sigh of relief. Yaowang Mountain was open. Everyone rushed over like a tide. Before Zhang Xiaobao's group reached the capital, there were fast horses coming from downstream. They found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were with Empress Wang, and reported, "Young master, young lady, there is news from Suzhou. There is a run on the Great Tang private bank. The private bank is currently mobilizing cash. Between the clouds and the water and sea and clouds have already prepared to take action." Got it. They actually ran to Suzhou. I thought they would go somewhere else. Hurry up and tell the Suzhou Money House to release the news of free deposits. There will be no processing fees for people depositing and exchanging money. Chapter 792. In the Suzhou government, Wu Feng, who was riding a fast horse at a speed of nearly 800 li, was not in the mood to swim in Lake Tai, let alone have the time to taste the prawn rake. With a pile of documents on him, he impatiently went to the Great Tang Bank in the Suzhou government. He took out the 5 million strings of coins and let the people of the bank verify it. According to the rules, those who asked for more than 50,000 strings of coins would have to wait 3 days before they could pay. He then found an inn not far from the bank and stayed there. When he found the innkeeper, he didn't say anything. He used a copper coin to arrange a pattern of the Big Dipper on the table. After the innkeeper personally poured half a cup of tea for him, he asked, "Do you have autumn crabs?" "Sir, you came at the right time. During the spring plowing, the autumn crabs are fat." "Sir, how many would you like to eat?" The innkeeper replied, "Give me half to try first." Wu Feng followed. "Sir, please wait a moment. I'll be right there," the innkeeper said as he filled the cup and bowed to leave. Not long after, the door opened and a middle-aged man wearing a silk headscarf came in. He looked back and carefully closed the door. He moved closer to Wu Feng and said, "Third steward, you've come. Are there any orders from above?" "Yes, it's time to act. How much money do you have here?" Wu Feng originally did not want to use the power here, but after he showed the documents and had them verified by the people of the Great Tang Bank, the other party did not show any signs of difficulty. He had no choice but to prepare another hand. As for the title of third steward, he had just gotten it last year. The main reason was because he contacted the merchants of the Jiangnan East Road to open the Blue Sea Silver Sand. The middle-aged man poured himself a cup of tea and raised it to reply, "Third steward, we only pulled in 400,000 strings of coins and promised many benefits to others. How much money can be used in the capital? 400,000 strings of coins? Yes, that's about right. After 3 days, withdraw a small amount." The capital borrowed 5 million strings of coins, and the storage fee was paid by the Wu family. Starting tomorrow, send people here to spread the news that the Great Tang Bank has no more money. If the money deposited is not withdrawn, then not a single coin can be taken back. After this matter is settled, you can return to the capital this year. Wu Feng did a rough calculation and was afraid that the Great Tang Bank still had the ability to pay 9 million strings of coins, so he suggested this method. "Don't worry, third steward. I will definitely muddy the waters." Hearing that there was a possibility of returning to the capital, the middle-aged man was very excited. The capital was good. People who could stay in the capital were not willing to go elsewhere. The next day, the originally calm Suzhou became restless. The people in the spring, plowing, did not consider the news circulating in the city. They did not have enough money to deposit in the money house for people to collect storage fees. But those who had businesses were different. They were always afraid of losing money if they kept it at home. Since the appearance of the Great Tang Bank, they found that the storage fee they paid each year was not much. It was basically the same as what they used to store the silk at home. In this way, these people could deposit their money in the Great Tang Bank and not worry about it being stolen. Now that he heard someone say that the Great Tang Bank had run out of money, at first he didn't believe it, but then he decided that he would rather believe it than not. He was prepared to withdraw the money first. After this storm passed, and he found that the money was fine, it wouldn't be too late to deposit it. The steward of the Great Tang Bank in the Suzhou government saw the line of people coming to withdraw money and immediately became anxious. What should we do? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have fought to participate in that training, and I wouldn't have spent so much effort to become a steward. The steward understood that this was the bank run that the teacher had mentioned during the training. After collecting deposits and lending money, the most frightening thing was for the depositors to come to the line to withdraw money because they did not trust them. One of his assistants was also anxious and suggested, "Steward Lee, why don't we tell the people withdrawing money that they can't withdraw money this month and have them wait a month? At that time, the money from other places will be able to come." Steward Lee glared at the assistant. "Then other places will immediately get the news, and more people will go to withdraw money. What will the Great Tang Bank do? Hasn't the news already been sent out to the steward? The steward will have a way. Give it to the people withdrawing money. Send people to transport the money and let them see if the Great Tang Bank still has money." The assistant nodded helplessly and ran to arrange for people to withdraw money from the warehouse. Then he looked at how much the person withdrew and divided the silk and copper coins according to 40 to 60. He knew that the steward was the young master of the Zhang family. He hoped that this time the young master of the Zhang family could still be as magical as before and do things well. Because of the silk and copper coins, it was troublesome to withdraw money. Whether the people who withdrew money in small amounts or directly withdrew money in small amounts, the bank would not compensate them. Some people did deposit money in small amounts and withdraw money in small amounts. When they withdrew money, it would be 150 copper coins. When they withdrew money, it would be 150 copper coins. In this way, a bolt of silk would be worth 200 copper coins. They could not break the silk, so they could only pay with copper coins. In this way, the silk would be left in the bank. It was not easy to preserve silk. As long as it was in the hands, it would depreciate. Fortunately, the copper coins themselves were not worth the monetary value they represented. Therefore, there were people who privately minted coins. The copper coins transported from Xinlua, Japan, and Xinyuan Island were all made into copper coins to offset the depreciation of the silk. Soon, cart after cart of copper coins were pushed to the front of the shop. Manager Li wanted to shout to the people in line to withdraw money, "You don't have to worry about the Great Tang Bank not being able to take out the money." However, he was worried that someone would use such words to say that the bank was stubbornly holding on, so he could only use practical actions to give people a hint. As usual, the money was taken away by people. Carriages after carriages of money were brought over. Even if Manager Li was anxious, he didn't show it. He always wore a smile on his face as he sent away the people who came to take the money one after another. From morning until noon, the people of the bank gave the money very quickly and did not have the slightest intention of stalling. This made the people who were still in line to withdraw money unconsciously change their minds. At this time, the people arranged by Manager Li spread the news in the crowd. "Let's not withdraw money. Someone must be spreading rumors that the Great Tang Bank has no money. Look, if there is no money, how can they keep pulling money out? If there is no money, how can they not be anxious? It's noon, time to go back and eat. I'll look again and pull money out again. I won't withdraw money either." It's all my wife's fault. She forced me to come here. She didn't think about who opened the Great Tang Bank. That is the current emperor. How can the emperor not have money? AI. You've wasted my time. That's right. Even if we can't withdraw money now, it's not that the Great Tang Bank doesn't have money. It's just that they lent the money to others to collect more interest and can't move it away. If the Great Tang Bank was only in Suzhou, then we should withdraw money. But how many banks does Great Tang have now? I won't withdraw money either. All kinds of voices like this sounded in the crowd, causing the people who were still waiting to withdraw money to be moved. They hesitated, not knowing if they should continue withdrawing money. After noon, the people withdrawing money suddenly decreased by a lot. When it was almost nighttime, the withdrawal rate had basically returned to normal. Manager Li and the people of the bank heaved a sigh of relief, but Wu Feng was worried again. The plan was about to succeed, but in the end, the people arranged by the bank said that the bank run was gone. How could this work? That night, he called the middle-aged man over, and the two of them discussed while eating. Third steward, according to your thoughts, can the Great Tang Bank in Suzhou still pay 1.9 million strings of cash? It's not a small amount. If it's not too much, then we should wait to prevent people from finding out. The middle-aged man was a bit worried. If he continued to send people to spread the news about the Great Tang Bank, once someone found out, it wouldn't just be his side that would be in trouble. If the emperor knew that it was Wu Huifei who did it, no matter how much he doted on her, he would vent his anger on her. How could Wu Feng not understand this point? If it was someone else supporting the bank, he wouldn't care. 1.9 million strings of cash. There weren't many places that could take out at once, especially Suzhou. The people here had borrowed a lot, so the bank shouldn't have much money left. But today's opponent was Zhang Xiaobao, who dared to underestimate him. Those who underestimated him didn't have a good ending. Even if they didn't underestimate him, those who went against him also didn't have a good ending. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't come over, he wouldn't have chosen Suzhou. Otherwise, if he was in Suzhou, he wouldn't have dared to come here. Some people's existence was a legend. Thinking like this, Wu Feng said to the middle-aged man, "This is the last time. Find someone reliable to do it. Don't give yourself away. If they really find out that you're here, we'll take good care of your family." The middle-aged man's expression changed. He nodded and said, "Understood. If they find me, then everything will be cut off. I'll immediately go back and arrange it." The next day, Suzhou, which was about to return to peace, had a new wave. It was rumored that the emperor wanted to use troops against Tufan and Tujue at the same time. Even after taking out all the money in the national treasury, it still wasn't enough. He forcefully transferred money from various banks. The banks were already empty. If they didn't withdraw money now, once the emperor lost, there wouldn't be any money left. When one person said this, others didn't care. More and more people said it. It made those who didn't believe it couldn't help but doubt whether or not it was true. At this time, the Suzhou government began to send bailiffs to arrest people. How terrible! Letting people casually spread rumors. Not only would the emperor be angry, but what would Tufan and Tujue think if they acted too late? Once they were arrested, it became even more chaotic. Some people began to suspect that this was an attempt to seal the mouth. They increasingly felt that the emperor wanted to send troops. Furthermore, the national treasury had no money and was transferring money from the banks. A new line appeared in front of the banks, waiting to withdraw money. Just as shopkeeper Li was feeling anxious, the urgent letter that Zhang Xiaobao had sent someone to deliver finally arrived. Looking at the contents of the letter, shopkeeper Li's heart finally settled down. He immediately had someone post a notice outside according to what was written in the letter. "Is there no money?" An illiterate commoner saw the notice and anxiously asked around. A literate person went over to take a look and said to the people around him, "Good news, great news. The emperor said that the national treasury is now full and the 4 seas are at peace. Therefore, the Great Tang Bank will remove the service fee for people who have previously deposited money after 1 month. The new people who deposit money will only have half of the original amount. When summer comes, The Great Tang Bank will completely remove the service fee. Also, starting from today, the interest on loans will also be reduced. The conditions for loans will also be slightly relaxed. In the future, more people will be able to borrow money. Good news, great news. Hearing the literate person's words, the people who wanted to withdraw money were confused. Who was the one who said it? If the bank was deliberately deceiving people, then the bank should not have relaxed the conditions for loans and reduced the interest when the bank ran out of money. Could it be that the bank really did not lack money? Someone in the crowd began to speak. Don't withdraw money. If you withdraw money and deposit it again, although it will be half of the previous service fee, it will not be as good as when there was no service fee in the beginning. Don't withdraw money. The emperor will not deceive us. I also won't withdraw money. Who knows? There might be something good waiting for us. It must be that the person who started the rumor knew in advance that the emperor was going to do this, so they came to take advantage of it. That's right. The person who started the rumor should be caught and beheaded. It's really too deceptive. I already withdrew 30 strings of cash yesterday. I've lost money, lost a lot. The crowd dispersed again. This time, no one continued to spread the rumor. Many of the people who started the rumor were arrested. They all said that they heard it from other people in the inns and restaurants. At the moment, it was really hard to find who started it. They could only be locked up for a few days and released when the time came. Third steward, is there such news from the capital? Did the emperor really say that? The middle-aged man found Wu Feng with lingering fear. What does it have to do with the emperor? The person who is really in charge of the Tang Bank is Zhang Xiaobao. Whatever he says is what it is. What a fast speed. I just made my move, and he already knew. I wonder if he can still take out the remaining 9 million strings of cash. Wu Feng did not have any confidence in his heart. Didn't Zhang Xiaobao go to Huayuan County to pick up the child? How could he still manage Suzhou? The third day came. The middle-aged man first had someone withdraw the 400,000 strings of cash he had saved, promising that person many benefits. After all, this interest had to be taken by himself. Otherwise, the other person did not need to pay the service fee. If he still wanted them to pay more, they would not do it. Following that, Wu Feng also found the Tang Bank and wanted to take his 5 million strings of cash. Seeing stewardly, the other parties, one sentence scared Wu Feng silly. Third steward, the money you asked for has been prepared. Come with me to get it. Steward Li said politely. Just this one sentence made Wu Feng feel cold from head to toe. He knows, he really knows. It was not a fake name that I gave, nor did he say my real name. Instead, he called me the Wu family in the capital. What should I do? What should I do? Will the empresses side B? Wu Feng's vision turned black and his ears rang. Even when Steward Li touched him, he did not feel anything. He only felt that his whole body was numb and did not have an ounce of strength. His stomach felt like he had drunk a lot of wine and wanted to vomit, but could not. With a puff, Steward Li sprayed a mouthful of strong wine on Wu Feng's face. Only then did Wu Feng wake up. Third steward, please come with me. The bank does not have 5 million strings of cash. We need to get it from other places. Steward Li said again. Wu Feng was so scared that his soul almost left his body. When he heard that the bank could not take out so much money, he did not feel the slightest bit of joy. He thought for a while and said, if you don't have that, then don't take it. How can that be? If you don't take it out, then the bank will not receive the management fee. Furthermore, the third steward has already made an appointment in advance. Please, the young master of the Zhang family has been very busy for this matter. He took the money between the clouds and the water and sea and clouds, and even transported a few 100,000 strings of cash from nearby places. After negotiating with the local investors, we finally managed to gather 5 million strings of cash for the third steward. Oh, it's 9 million strings of cash. Steward Li reached out to support Wu Feng. Just like that, Wu Feng was sent to the bank between the clouds and the water by Steward Li. Looking at the mountain of money, Wu Feng knew that it was impossible for him to transport it away. The transportation fee was more than 10 times higher than the management fee. He could only deposit it in the bank again. After entering and exiting, the management fee was not small. More importantly, he was exposed. He wondered how the Empress was doing in the palace. In the capital, Li Longji already knew about it. In his anger, he did not visit Wu Huifei for 3 days. Of course, he also did not teach her a lesson. Today, he went to Empress Wang's place to drink alone. Empress Wang was making clothes for her son and daughter. Although Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not lack clothes, for a mother, it was better to make clothes herself than others. Seeing that the emperor had arrived, she arranged for people to prepare food and wine while coming to serve him. Seeing that the emperor's complexion was not good, she asked with concern, "Your Majesty, is there something troubling you in the imperial court?" What can happen in the imperial court? Now that the national treasury is full, it's the bank that's in trouble. Li Longji had only seen his newborn son and daughter once. Now that he came to Empress Wang's place, he thought of how the two of them smiled when they saw him. His mood improved a lot. "Your Majesty, could it be that Xiao Bao got into trouble?" Empress Wang already knew what was going on. If it was in the past, she would have directly said it. Now, she was smarter. Li Longji waved his hand. What trouble could Xiao Bao get into? With him there, the bank has nothing to worry about. It's consort Huifei. She actually made a move behind the scenes. She had people deposit a large sum of money in the capital and then ran to the farthest bank in Suzhou to get it. This is called running on the bank. Your Majesty, perhaps consort Huifei's younger sister has a proper use. If she really wanted to go to the farthest place, wouldn't it be better to go to Jiannan Circuit? Empress Wang explained. Humph. What use does she have? She didn't go to Jiannan Circuit because of the reputation that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo made there, as well as the business of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Moreover, the road there is difficult. Otherwise, she really would have gone to Jiannan Circuit. Li Longji's heart was like a mirror. How could he not know the reason why consort Huifei made a move on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? At this time, the palace maids had already placed the wine and dishes on the table. Empress Wang poured wine for the emperor and said, "Your Majesty doesn't need to worry. With Xiao Bao there, nothing will happen to the bank." Naturally, Xiao Bao wrote a letter to Li Shi a few days ago, saying that the increase of the capital's deposit was abnormal. He made arrangements early on. What if it was someone else? What would happen? Would anyone have Xiao Bao's ability? When Li Longji thought of the letter that Gao Lishir had received, he couldn't help but admire the experts of the Zhang family. Xiao Bao, who had been taught by them, was actually able to see the signs of the increase of the capital's deposit. This ability was extraordinary. Empress Wang picked up a piece of cucumber for the emperor and drank a small cup with him. She continued to persuade, "Your Majesty, consort Huifei's actions are also good." Good in what way? Li Longji had thought that Empress Wang would add fuel to the fire. He didn't expect that she would actually speak up for consort Huifei. Your Majesty should think this way. This time, consort Huifei was testing the Tang Bank. Xiao Bao handled it well. Even if she really couldn't control it at that time, consort Huifei will deposit the money back into the bank. She won't ruin Your Majesty's plans. This concubine can guarantee. With this, Your Majesty's heart will be at ease. Xiao Bao has done a good job in handling the malicious deposit and withdrawal of funds from other places. It's better than other people or countries with bad intentions. It's also good for the people participating in the training to have an intuitive impression. According to this concubine's words, consort Huifei's actions are like an adult deliberately making things difficult for children in order to train them. Your Majesty also made things difficult for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. The two children said that when they wanted to go to Jili province, they had to go around in circles. If Pan, and the others weren't with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, this concubine also wanted to make things difficult for them. Empress Wang tried her best to excuse consort Huifei. It wasn't that she didn't want to beat consort Huifei to death with a stick. It was just that this kind of thing couldn't be beaten to death. Rather than that, It was better to curry favor and let the emperor see her magnanimity as the leader of the harem. Li Longji actually just wanted to find a way out for himself. When he heard Empress Wang's words, he felt happy in his heart and deliberately put on a straight face. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have lied to us time and time again. Those officials who didn't know the reason thought that we couldn't compare to the two children. Now you know it's because the two children aren't ordinary. When our Junior and Pan are older, they can also learn good skills. Your Majesty, this concubine still has something to say. Although consort Huifei tested Xiao Bao once, she still has to be punished in the harem. This concubine has decided to punish consort Huifei with half a year's monthly allowance. What does your Majesty think? Empress Wang continued. Punishment, punishment. Come, drink with us. Let's sleep here tonight. When Li Longji heard that it was only half a year's allowance, he happily agreed. Chapter 793. In these few days, Wu Huifei did not have an easy time. The emperor had been staying with Empress Wang. Although Empress Wang had just returned from Huayuan, it was not to the extent that she would not come to see her. It was not until Wu Feng deposited the money again and ran back to the capital like an emergency report that Wu Huifei knew the situation was troublesome. She waited anxiously for the emperor's punishment. In the end, all she got was a punishment of half a year's salary. The reason was that she had taken something from the palace to be sold. This was natural. To raise money to deal with Zhang Xiaobao, the Wu family had to contribute money and strength. Just the service fees for other people were not small. There was also the intelligence personnel running back and forth, as well as the various gatherings held to win people over. It was all money. Temporarily relieved, Wu Huifei looked at the flowers blooming as the warm wind blew. She asked the serving girl beside her, "Is there any news from home?" "Your Highness, Wu Feng fell ill as soon as he came back. The doctor has seen him and said he was frightened. He will be fine after a few days of rest." Wu Feng said he thought of a good idea to make the Tang Bank compensate, especially after waiving all service fees. However, he did not dare to do it again for fear of losing his head. The serving girl replied and put a small foot warmer by Wu Huifei's feet. The foot warmer was marked with the authentic symbol of Hai Yunjian. Wu Huifei had long been used to using things from the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families. Even if she hated them to death, she would not go against them in terms of enjoyment. Hearing the serving girl's reply, she nodded and said, "He was frightened. He must have been frightened in Suzhou. Let him tell us the plan. This time, there is no need for him to do it. If it were Wu Yu, I don't believe that Zhang Xiaobao, who is busy with the matter of accumulating benefits, while also being busy with business and taking care of Empress Wang's two evil children, can still find time to deal with one attack after another." Yes. The serving girl turned and left. Another serving girl took her place and stood by Wu Huifei's side to serve. The news quickly spread to the outer house. After Wu Feng, who was lying on the sickbed, heard it, he sighed helplessly and called Wu Yu over to warn her. "This time, we have to be extremely careful. If we use copper coins to exchange for silk, we can suppress the price of the silk. Then we deposit the silk in the bank and withdraw it from the bank. Then the bank will have more silk and less copper coins. Then we will use copper coins to exchange for silk. After a few rounds, we will have more money and the bank will have more silk." Wu Yu nodded. "I know. It's just using money to bargain for the silk. You deposit the silk in the bank and then withdraw the money. You can earn money every time. I can do it." When Wu Feng saw Wu Yu's nonchalant expression, he became even more anxious and said, "It's easy to do, but difficult to hide. What's so difficult about it? I won't be in a hurry to withdraw the money. I'll prepare more money to exchange for silk. When the time comes, I'll withdraw the money bit by bit. It will take 3 months. After accumulating a few times, I'll withdraw it all at once." Wu Yu felt that she finally had a chance to go out and do something. She was very excited. It could be said that a newborn calf was not afraid of a tiger. Wu Feng regretted telling her the plan. He gestured for Wu Yu to sit on the bed and said weakly, "Don't underestimate Zhang Xiaobao. Those who underestimate him are all dealt with by him. Don't tell me you didn't see anything from this confrontation?" "See what?" "Zhang Xiaobao discovered our actions, but we still won. The imperial concubine didn't suffer any losses, but Zhang Xiaobao caused the bank to lose a portion of its income. The first person to deposit money will not be charged, and after a while, the rest of the people who deposit money will not be charged either. No matter how powerful Zhang Xiaobao is, won't he still be at a disadvantage?" Wu Yu carefully analyzed the situation and thought that she had taken advantage of Zhang Xiaobao. Thinking that she was about to use the silk to exchange for money, she said, "When I get a certain amount, I'll tell others about this method. Let's see how Zhang Xiaobao will deal with it." Wu Feng felt that he had lost even more strength. He looked at Wu Yu resentfully and forced himself to sit up. He felt a buzzing in his head and almost fainted. He leaned against the wall beside the bed and said to Wu Yu, who had a concerned expression, "Zhang Xiaobao doesn't care about the imperial concubine at all. It's like an adult looking at a child playing a trick. After easily resolving it, he goes back to doing what he should do. The method that we thought of is a joke to Zhang Xiaobao. Do you really think that he didn't want to charge a deposit fee because he couldn't think of any other method? That was because all the banks of the Great Tang worked together and were not affected at all. If he really thought of it on the spur of the moment, how could he make all the banks so stable? This means that he already had such a plan, but he didn't use it. He just happened to use it when we made a move. I'm really worried that the plan of exchanging silk for money will be affected in the same way. You must be careful. One step at a time. Don't be reckless." "Really?" "Yes, I will be careful," Wu Yu said with uncertainty and promised. The sound of the waves and the clear blue water. Zhang Xiaobao, who had already returned to Jili province, began to instruct his subordinates to get busy with the spring plowing. This year was the same as last year. They would plant more soybeans and less rice. Only when the problem of the river was solved could they plant all rice. Soybeans were good and the land was good. As for the yield, it wasn't important. The tax paid last year wasn't much. It was just a formality. The surrounding provinces were the same. The Anong Protectorate had paid most of its taxes. The Raolu Commandery, Songhua Commandery, and Bohai Commandery were still stubbornly holding on. They weren't willing to set the precedent. Once they paid the tax, they would acknowledge Li Longji's absolute rule. This was different from paying tribute. Wang Wan wasn't ready for war yet. She continued to train her army and looked forward to the opportunity of a small-scale battle. She could use it to train her soldiers. Soldiers who had never seen blood would always be new recruits. Besides the daily tasks, Xiao Bei and the others now had one more thing to do, which was to watch their younger brother and sister. The two little guys cried for a few days after leaving their mother. Later, they gradually got used to it and were fine. Usually, they drank milk and slept. Occasionally, when they were awake, they would open their eyes and look at the world curiously, alternating between crying and laughing. Why are they crying and laughing at the same time? Xiao Bei propped his chin on his hand and asked curiously. Xiao Zhu was drawing the two little guys with her brush. Even though the drawing didn't look like them, she was still very serious. The Nan and Xiao Nan did not know how to answer, so they remained silent. Zhang Chang, Zhang Gang, and Zhang Fang were also attracted by Xiao Bei's question and were thinking hard. Xiao Hai, on the other hand, continued to mumble various mathematical terms. Only Xiao Yuan was holding a cup of honey water. From time to time, he would take a sip, looking like an old scholar. Occasionally, he would pluck a sentence or two from a book to show his erudite memory. The two little guys were the ones to answer Xiao Bei's question, their mouths making vague sounds. It wasn't until a ray of sunlight shone in that the room returned from its previous tranquility to liveliness. Zhang Xiaobao had brought his medical doctor over to see the two little guys. Just like Xiao Bei and the others, they had to be examined once a day to avoid any unexpected consequences. Xiao Bei watched the medical doctor examine the two little guys. He pulled on his brother's clothes and asked the same question again. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a moment. He didn't say that crying and laughing were the easiest actions for people to express their emotions. Instead, he said to Xiaobei, because when they were born into this world, they knew that there would be both happiness and disaster in a person's life. Oh, so that's how it is. Then, should we not cry when we encounter sad things in the future? Should we just smile all the time? Xiaobei seemed to understand a little, but it also seemed like he didn't completely understand. Cry when you need to. Laugh when you need to. Shouldn't Xiaobei also be examined today? Zhang Xiaobao said as he patted his sister's head. Xiaobei nodded vigorously. Yes, once every 3 days. Exactly 3 days. Brother, when will Xiaolu be back? Soon. He should be back in a few days. Zhang Xiaobao looked to the north as he spoke. He didn't know if the people he had sent to the Mo last year had adapted. According to the estimation of the distance, they should have returned by now. It was probably because the road was difficult to travel and they were delayed on the road. This time, not only did they have to bring back a large amount of ginseng, but they also had to bring back ferrets and various local animals and plants that they could encounter on the road. They would artificially breed those that could be bred. As for those that couldn't be bred, they would see if they could be processed to find a better market. Then I'll wait a little longer. They said that there's going to be a war here. Is that true? Are you afraid? No. Even if there is a war, it will be far from here. No one will dare to come here. I'm not afraid. I still have a tripping rope. Brother, I'm all grown up. Can I have a servant? A 5th rank official? Xiaobei recalled the time when he was rejected when he asked for a servant. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while and nodded. Okay, Xiaobei, you have to find a servant yourself. I won't give you the money to support the servant. Have you thought about where to find a servant with your salary? Yes. I'll tell you when the time comes. Xiaobei shook his head as if he had won a victory. At this time, the doctor finished examining the 2 little guys. Little young master, everything is normal. Do you want to examine Xiaobei and Xiaobei? Yes, check. They have eaten a lot of candy recently. See how their teeth are. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. While Jili province was peaceful, everywhere between the clouds and the water and Blue Sea Silver Sand Restaurant was in chaos. Blue Sea Silver Sand Restaurant was in a price war. The price of wine and dishes dropped again and again, snatching a lot of business from between the clouds and the water. Just when everyone thought that between the clouds and the water would also lower the price, between the clouds and the water suddenly increased the price of wine and dishes. Many female waitresses were hired to be in charge of welcoming and delivering customers. The interior of the restaurant was reduced, but there were some extra things in the middle. For example, a small bridge over flowing water and a reflection of the moon in the pond were all made in the restaurant. As a result, people who paid attention to this matter found that not only did the business between the clouds and the water not decrease, but more rich people were willing to go between the clouds and the water. It seemed that eating between the clouds and the water was better than eating there. Some people who knew about this were happy, while others were very angry. Wu Huifei naturally belonged to the angry group. She originally planned to use the merchants of Jiangnan East to weaken between the clouds and the water, but who knew that it would become between the clouds and the water. She immediately sent someone to tell Wu Feng to think of a solution. Wu Feng's illness was more or less healed, but he was still a little weak. He got up and found Jiang Lan to discuss with her. Manager Wu, why are you looking for me? Jiang Lan asked after the two sat down in the study. What else can it be? Between the clouds and the water didn't lose money, but earned more. This is different from what we thought at first. Can you think of another way? Wu Feng was a little helpless when he received this task, so he asked Jiang Lan when he got someone to send tea and snacks. Jiang Lan frowned when she heard that. She thought for a while and said, "This is not easy." The person behind Between the Clouds and the Water is Song Jinggong, the #1 person on the top list of billionaires. If you want to compete with him in business, first of all, it is troublesome to calculate and second, you don't have enough money. You don't have money? Wu Feng asked. Yes, but we can't spend all of it on opposing the Shuiyun Club. Right now, we can't lower the price any further. This won't work against the Shuiyun Club. All of the merchants of the Jiangnan East Road added together will only be able to match the wealth of the Zhang and Wang families. The Zhang and Wang families have a lot of money. If we really go all out, we'll be losing 800 of our own men. Manager Wu, you can't expect us to go all out against Zhang family and Wang family, can you? When we first came here, we said that we would make money. Now that we have invested more and earned less, we can't afford to go all out. Jiang Lan looked like she was deceived, as if she was complaining and helpless. Wu Feng also looked a little embarrassed, but he didn't care. After all, a portion of the merchants of Jiangnan East, led by Jiang Lan, had already boarded the pirate ship. Hearing Jiang Lan's complaints, he asked, "Then what should we do now? We can't just watch between the clouds and the water grow stronger again. Now that things are like this, since we're going to go against between the clouds and the water, then we can't be the only ones doing the work. Don't tell me that no one hates between the clouds and the water. Why don't we find more people and join forces? I'll think of a way to distribute a portion of the business to those who are willing to join forces." Jiang Lan pondered for a moment and suggested, "That's fine. I'll go and contact them now. When the time comes, I'll let Zhang Xiaobao know the consequences of offending the Empress." Wu Feng agreed and picked up his teacup again. Jiang Lan also drank a mouthful of tea, put down the teacup, and left. Wu Feng, on the other hand, began to busy himself with roping in other people, wanting to deal with between the clouds and the water together. A few days later, Wu Feng found Jiang Lan again and brought her to a courtyard. At this time, there were already many people gathered in the courtyard, each of them forming a circle and chatting happily. The moment Wu Feng entered the courtyard, everyone came forward to greet him. Come, let me introduce someone to everyone. The owner of the Jade Sea Silver Sands, Jiang Lan, owner Jiang. Everyone, please take a look. Owner Jiang, this is Golden Wave Pavilion's owner Feng. This is Treasure House's owner Zhang. This is Tasting Tea Garden's owner Wang. And this is Wu Feng, began to introduce everyone. Compared to Jiang Lan's Jade Sea Silver Sands, the other people's properties were much lesser. If they didn't gather everyone together, they really wouldn't be able to cooperate with the Jade Sea Silver Sands. The merchants looked at Jiang Lan and felt conflicted. They were jealous of Jiang Lan's Jade Sea Silver Sands, but they also admired it. None of them knew what to say. Fortunately, Wu Feng was in the middle of it. Gradually, the distance between everyone and Jiang Lan was shortened. Wine and dishes were served, and everyone began to eat. They talked about the wind and the moon, and talked about the north and south of the country. It wasn't until night time, when the banquet was removed and replaced with tea and fruits, that Wu Feng began to talk about the main topic. "Everyone, I'm sure you all understand in your hearts that I've called you here today, and that is to work together to deal with between the clouds and the water. As everyone knows, between the clouds and the water has been snatching other people's business all these years. There's the tavern, the dock, and the supermarket, squeezing the original merchants until there's no space left. If they continue to develop, how can we survive?" Manager Wu's words are correct. Jiang Lan echoed. "My people from Jiangnan East came here just to earn some money, but between the clouds and the water immediately started to suppress us. If we don't do anything about it, there will be endless trouble in the future. We should work together." The merchants immediately followed suit, saying that between the clouds and the water was not good. They didn't dare to directly mention the Zhang family and the Wang family, afraid that someone would betray them and let Zhang family and the Wang family know about it. They only targeted between the clouds and the water, which was a business transaction, so they didn't have to worry about the Zhang family and the Wang family using other means. Although they said that many people understood that it wasn't between the clouds and the water that went overboard, but that they didn't seize the opportunity. When between the clouds and the water expanded, it was always the merchants in the same industry who asked about cooperation. It was only after some people read the contract that they thought that they could get more benefits, and even hoped that after Between the Clouds and the Water came over, they would not cooperate with them and would instead benefit from the cooperation. In the end, they saw what it meant to be a fierce dragon crossing the river. None of them lost money, and they only earned a little less than before. However, when they saw that the others who cooperated with Between the Clouds and the Water were earning more, they felt that it was unfair. They wanted to bribe the local people who cooperated with Between the Clouds and the Water to produce goods and snatch the business. But because of the contract, they couldn't succeed. They watched as the people, merchants, and various businesses Between the Clouds and the Water profited. But their side was still half dead. When they went to look for Between the Clouds and the Water to cooperate, the conditions Between the Clouds and the Water offered were even harsher. A person's life depended on their face, and a tree's life depended on its bark. They couldn't agree to the cooperation even if they wanted to, so they could only secretly hate in their hearts. Now that they finally found an opportunity, it didn't matter what they said. What was important was whether they could suppress Between the Clouds and the Water. After a while, the grievance meeting was over. Everyone agreed on the direction of the operation, and that was to defeat Between the Clouds and the Water. As for whether they could defeat it in the end, it didn't matter. They just wanted to give it a try first. Manager Wu, what should we do? Feng Dongjia of the Golden Wave Pavilion asked when he saw that there was no practical way to do it. Wu Feng also didn't know what to do. He turned his head to look at Jiang Lan. Let's let Jiang Dongjia speak. Jiang Lan didn't stand on ceremony. She coughed and said, "All right, let me say it. Everyone, help me think if there are any omissions. Here's what I think. If we want to deal with Between the Clouds and the Water, we have to first destroy his signboard, which is the wine embrace Between the Clouds and the Water. Otherwise, as long as there is a wine embrace Between the Clouds and the Water, it will be very difficult to deal with his other businesses. What do you think?" Yes. A few people nodded in response. Jiang Lan continued, "If we want to deal with the wine embrace Between the Clouds and the Water, we naturally have to rely on the blue sea silver sand. It's also the wine embrace. If we can snatch the business Between the Clouds and the Water, it will be a success." At this point, Feng Dongjia interrupted. "Jiang Dongjia, the blue sea silver sand wine embrace is not bad, but the recent price reduction doesn't seem to have any effect. Not only did it not suppress Between the Clouds and the Water, but it also made the business Between the Clouds and the Water even better. Many people feel that eating Between the Clouds and the Water is better than eating Between the Clouds and the Water. Could it be that we can continue to reduce the price?" As if someone had hit a sore spot, Jiang Lan's face turned slightly red. She explained, "Everyone knows that Between the Clouds and the Water is backed by Song Jinggong, the number one on the top list of billionaires. Behind Song Jinggong is the young master of the Zhang family, Zhang Xiaobao, an existence that is beyond the rankings. With their abilities, it's too easy to turn the tables. The Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace was not prepared at that time and suffered a loss. Now, we have thought of a countermeasure. It's just that we lack money, so we need everyone to work together. I wonder what Jiang Dongjia has thought of." Wang Dongjia of Tsingming Garden saw that Jiang Lan spoke frankly and admitted their shortcomings, so he asked, "We'll divide the Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace into 3 levels. The highest level is on the 3rd floor, the 2nd floor is on the 2nd floor, and the last floor is on the 1st floor. You can earn money from both the rich and the ordinary people. Between the Clouds and the Water can only earn money from the rich now, and give up on the low end. The Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace has decided to combine the two. You can invest in the Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace and expand the business. I'm willing to give up the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors. I only need 1 floor, and the other 2 floors will be used to invest." Jiang Lan explained. "Then how do we calculate it?" Zhang Dongjia asked again. Jiang Lan took out a few pieces of paper from her arms and put them on the table. She said, "Except for the capital and the central cities of Jiangxi province, other places will be calculated at a discount. For example, The Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace in Guanyi Province is worth 3,000 strings of coins. If you take out 3,000 strings of coins, then each of you will get 50%. The first floor, second floor, and third floor will be divided into the second, and third floors. Those who on the first floor have to pay 20% of the money. Those on the second floor have to pay 30% of the money. Those on the third floor have to pay 40%. And the extra 10% is used to deal with public relations. In other words, if I want to occupy the first floor, I need to pay 1,200 strings of coins. And if I want to occupy the third floor, I need to pay 2,400 strings of coins. The extra 10% will also be paid, which is 600 divided by 9. It's more detailed. Everyone listened to Jiang Lan's words and began to pass the pieces of paper. It was written very clearly that when the money was paid, it would be put together. When the time came, it would be counted separately, including the cooks. If they still wanted to use the original Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace, they would have to pay separately. Everyone's investment in each bar could not exceed the original value of the bar. In other words, Jiang Lan wanted to hold the controlling stake. Everyone's investment would be used partly for renovation and partly for advertising. In order to show her sincerity, Jiang Lan did not charge any signboard fee. Otherwise, the name Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace would be worth a lot of money. After that, the money invested would be used to buy the surrounding houses and build more courtyards for people to rest in. The ratio was equal to the second, third, and fourth floors. The third floor belonged to the high end, and it had to make the best food. The second floor belonged to the middle. It could be slightly worse, but the scenery must be there. The first floor was low end. It had the nature of fast food, and one could slowly taste the wine and dishes in it. In this way, the low end earned the money of ordinary people. The second floor was the same as the noble guests between the clouds and the water. The third floor was to be high quality, higher than between the clouds and the water. The merchants could choose first from the third floor, and Jiang Lan would ask for the rest. As for the Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace in Jiangyi Province, others would have to pay more. When they first occupied the space, they spent a lot of money on public relations fees. The group of merchants began to calculate how much money each person should take and which floor to occupy. In the end, they realized that they could not occupy the third floor of the Blue Sea Silver Sand Wine Embrace. One was that the third floor was small, and there might not be that many guests. Moreover, the cost was high. The other was that if they wanted to have a foothold on the third floor, they had to have a good chef and ingredients. Otherwise, others would not go to the third floor. After some discussion, everyone reached an agreement. They immediately prepared the money and occupied the first and second floors. They prepared a separate space for Jiang Lan on the second floor for her to do other things. This way, the arrangement of shares would be reasonable. In order to take revenge, everyone raised money very quickly. In a few days, a large sum of money was sent to Jiang Lan, and a shopkeeper was sent over to see how to spend it. As the saying went, there was no such thing as an impermeable wall. While Wu Feng and Jiang Lan were preparing, someone spread the news. Gao Lisher, who had been paying attention to his son, found out about this matter. It just so happened that a lot of things were sent over from Jili Province, including ingredients. Gao Lisher had someone prepare them and bring them to Li Longji. Li Longji had been in a good mood recently. One reason was that the people sent by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to the north had returned. They said that the land there was good, that there were almost no people, and that there were many resources. Another reason was that the two of them had bought a large piece of land in the new province's commander-in-chief's office, not far from the Anong Protectorate. In the end, they found a lot of coal there, which could be used for smelting. There were also large pieces of amber and coal essence to be sent over to be used as decorations. In addition, ever since the Great Tang Bank had become more stable in Suzhou, more people were willing to save money. Zhang Xiaobao was gradually diluting the shares of other people. With more money, they could expand. What they needed to do now was to turn the recruits into conscripts. Actually, the amount of money spent was about the same, but the difference between conscripts and recruits was that they were stronger. Even though it would cost money to let them go back a few years later to find a job, they knew what they were fighting for when they fought. Soldiers with conviction were invincible. With so many good things happening at the same time, Li Longji deliberately invited Empress Wang and Wu Huifei to Xingqing Palace during the meal. Although the two women had their own plans in mind, they appeared to be amiable on the surface. The dishes had already been arranged, but when they were eating, they suddenly realized that there was an extra dish. Li Longji looked at the extra dish and turned his head to ask Gao Lisher, "Your Majesty, it was just sent over not long ago. Xiao Bao said that this is the meat of the Manchurian tiger. It tastes good and can nourish the body, so he sent it over. There is also a complete tiger skin, bones, and penis." Gao Lisher explained and signaled for a eunuch to bring a piece over. "Good, tiger meat is good. What have Xiao Bao and Cuckoo been busy with recently? Does Lisher know?" Li Longji asked happily. "Your Majesty, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo sent a letter saying that they want to build a steel-making furnace. They found many craftsmen to go to the governor's office in the new city and sent 3,000 soldiers to protect them. They failed a few times and still haven't succeeded. If they succeed, our army will be stronger." Gao Lisher replied and then frowned. "Your Majesty, I heard that Blue Sea Silver Sand found many merchants to deal with between the clouds and the water. They are currently renovating. I don't know if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will be able to take care of them." "There's such a thing?" Li Longji was stunned and also worried. At this time, Wu Huifei gently explained, "Your Majesty, Xiao Bao is very capable. It shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with Blue Sea Silver Sand. If he really can't do it, Your Majesty can issue a decree and have the Blue Sea Silver Sand officials help between the clouds and the water. If the Blue Sea Silver Sand doesn't listen, then send troops to seize him. Your Majesty, you can't. If you send troops, where will between the clouds and the water be?" Gao Lisher hurriedly dissuaded. "Your concubine was wrong. Indeed, we can't send troops to deal with them. Aya, what should we do? Xiao Bao and Huan Huan have given your concubine a lot of gifts." Wu Huifei quickly followed up. How could Li Longji not know that Wu Huifei didn't mean what she said? However, he couldn't side with anyone, especially not Wu Huifei. Otherwise, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo would be anxious. Write a letter to Xiao Bao and let him know. Li Longji could only remind them. At this time, Empress Wang also spoke. "Your Majesty, your concubine thinks that Xiao Bao doesn't need others to remind him of such a small matter. Your Majesty can just watch." These words made Wu Huifei feel surprised. Could it be that Empress Wang didn't protect Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? Reminding them at a critical time was better than anything else. The two of them were in Jili province. By the time they got the news, it would be too late. Gao Lisher also glanced at Empress Wang and didn't say anything. Li Longji hesitated and nodded, agreeing with Empress Wang. Everyone began to eat again. Only Empress Wang ate calmly. She knew what was going on with Blue Sea Silver Sand. On the way back to the capital, she guessed it from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's words. She thought to herself, "I wonder who's going to be unlucky. Xiaobao always likes to set traps for others. I hope he doesn't teach June, and Pan, to be like this." The meal was eaten peacefully, as everyone had their own thoughts. Then, they went back to their own places. As soon as Empress Wang returned to her palace, she immediately found a group of palace maids to play with. Wu Huifei sent someone to ask Wu Feng how the news was leaked and asked him to keep a secret. Gao Lisher still wrote a letter to Zhang Xiaobao, asking if he had any ideas. When Zhang Xiaobao received the letter, he was thinking about refractory bricks with Wang Wan. If they wanted to build an open hearth furnace and a blast furnace, they couldn't do it without refractory bricks. They failed again and again, making the two of them lose confidence. I say, how did the steel mill be built during the Industrial Revolution? Can't you understand if we copy it? Zhang Xiaobao was a little discouraged. That was developed by many industries together. Don't worry, we can do it bit by bit. The craftsmen still need time. Think about how to make refractory bricks. Wang Wan was not in a hurry. She was thinking hard. That's a lot. Let's use clay, and then mix in furnace ash. Let the craftsmen test the proportion. I don't believe that they can't do it. Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his face hard and asked someone to send the formula to the craftsman. Wang Wan also pressed her temples. She took the unopened letter that Gao Lishir asked someone to send over and tore it open. After reading it, she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "The fish took the bait. Let's wait and see." Look, there are quite a few people who hate us. Oh? There are people in the Blue Sea Silver Sands forming an alliance? Good, it's good that they formed an alliance. After this, a lot of people will be honest. Has there been any news from the governor's office of the new city? What's their reaction? Zhang Xiaobao took the letter and glanced at it. What other reaction can there be? They're not happy. They feel that they lost out and want to buy back the land. Dream on. That's an open-pit mine. It's easy to dig it up and can be used to make steel. Wang Wan passed another letter from the other side to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand and didn't take it. It was fine as long as he knew. He asked, "Is it time to send troops up the coast? Let's go to North America first and bring back the good stuff." There's no hurry. Train for another half a month. When the time comes, send 1,000 people to explore the road. Your potatoes and corn will be ready soon. Wang Wan didn't know if this trip would be successful. This could be said to be the first time the Tang Empire explored North America. It was a long journey. She hoped that the people sent could overcome all kinds of difficulties. Under the attention of many people, the renovated Blue Sea's Silver Sand reopened. The crackling of firecrackers didn't stop, and there was a long line of people who came to support the opening. The people gathered to watch the show. The people eating at Between the Clouds and the Water were also very curious. This was another war between two restaurants. It was just that no one knew who would win. Wu Feng was waiting for success, and Wu Huifei was also looking forward to venting her anger. For 3 consecutive days, the business of the Blue Sea's Silver Sand was very good. The restaurant also learned from Between the Clouds and the Water and hired many female employees, especially on the 3rd floor. The grades were determined, and everyone was earning their own money. Jiang Lan and the other businessmen were very happy. But as the 4th day came, the number of people eating at the Blue Sea's Silver Sand gradually decreased. To be precise, the number of people eating at the 1st and 2nd floor decreased, but the number of people eating at the 3rd floor was still the same. This situation made the businessmen who cooperated with Jiang Lan puzzled. Why was it like this? With all kinds of puzzlement, Zheng Dongjia stopped a customer who came to eat at the restaurant a few days ago. "Master Wan, what have you been busy with recently?" Zheng Dongjia tried to find a topic to talk about. "Nothing much, just like before. You're busy, and I'm strolling around." Master Wan was obviously perfunctory. "Don't, it's almost noon. Why don't you come in and eat? My treat." Zheng Dongjia was about to pull the other party into the restaurant as he spoke. When the other party saw that Zheng Dongjia was going to pull him in through the front door, he struggled with all his might, but he really didn't have the strength to say, "Zheng Dongjia, don't make it difficult for me. I'll just find a place to eat in front." "Master Wan, why don't you want to eat at the Blue Sea's Silver Sand?" Zheng Dongjia asked, puzzled. "Who said I don't want to come? I'm willing to go up to the 3rd floor from the outside, but it costs too much. I can't eat here every day. As for going in through the front door, forget it. Spending the same amount of money to eat at other restaurants is a cut above the others, but eating on the 1st and 2nd floors of the Blue Sea Silver Sand is a cut below the others. Am I not looking for trouble for no reason?" Master Wan finally told the truth. After he finished speaking, he finally took off his clothes while Zheng Dongjia was in a daze. He hurriedly rushed forward, as if he was afraid that Zheng Dongjia would chase after him again. Zheng Dongjia was dumbfounded. He looked back at the Blue Sea's Silver Sand restaurant and thought about what Master Wan said just now. He suddenly understood. So that's how it is. The first and second floors are neither too low nor too high. If you really want to go low end, you have to continue lowering the price to the level of a small restaurant. But in that case, you won't even be able to recoup your capital. Just the money you spent on renovations is not a small amount. If you raise the price and the chef skills are not good enough, wouldn't it be better for people to eat on the third floor or in the water transport room? Why would they come to the first and second floors of the Blue Seas Silver Sand restaurant? What should I do? Stairs. Yes, it's best to tear down the outside stairs. That way, when people enter the restaurant, they won't know which floor to go to. Okay, I'll go find someone to discuss it. Chapter 794. When the people who worked with Jiang Lan found that the restaurant could not make money and came to discuss with Jiang Lan took out the contract she had signed and showed it to them. There were various clauses clearly written on it, and one of them was to build stairs outside on one day. The businessmen were dumbfounded. They saw that Jiang Lan wanted to prepare everything according to the contract. She did not look as easy to talk to as before. If they did not want to do it, they could not get back their investment. They could leave, but they could not take the money with them. It would benefit Jiang Lan and the others. Feng Dongjia, who was in charge of the first floor, could not help but say to Jiang Lan helplessly, "Jiang Dongjia, the first floor of the Sea of Silver Sand that I have booked is almost no longer profitable. If this continues, we will lose money in a few days. Can Jiang Dongjia think of a way?" The other businessmen who were not good at business also echoed. Since they could not threaten Jiang Lan, they could only speak softly. Jiang Lan frowned and looked sympathetic. It's difficult to think of a way. If there is a good way, the Sea of Silver Sand will not be inferior to Between the Clouds and the Water. If you want to talk about a way, there is one, but I don't know if you want to try it. Jiang Dongjia, if you really have a way, please tell us, Wang Dongjia asked anxiously. Well, it's not difficult. Since others are not willing to eat on the first and second floors of the Sea of Silver Sand, why don't we send it to other people's houses? Hire more servants and run around the various roads every day. The bicycles sold elsewhere are not bad. Buy a few and let the servants ride them. Write the words on the front of the bicycles and let people shout as they walk a few days ago. When more people know about it, they can stop and order food. Then let people ride back to the restaurant and send the food over. What do you think? Jiang Lan kindly gave everyone an idea. The businessmen thought about it and found that this idea was indeed not bad. Usually, people would send people to the restaurant to order food and let the restaurant send it over. Naturally, it could not be compared to someone riding a bicycle and shouting. Many people's eyes lit up. They were grateful and impressed by Jiang Lan. It was not easy to think of such a method. At this time, Feng Dongjia spoke again. Jiang Dongjia, it's good, but not many people come to the restaurant. Won't the place be empty? When the others heard Feng Dongjia's words, they also realized this problem. Since they could order food, wouldn't the first and second floors be wasted? That's right, it's empty. Then everyone, think of other ways. We can't always be empty. Jiang Lan looked helpless. Then let's try it out first. If it really doesn't work out, we can only accept the loss. Some people in the crowd had already decided to back out. They would rather give up the money they had invested than continue to invest. It was no longer important whether they still had to deal with Between the Clouds and the Water. Before the others could do anything, Wu Feng, who had also come to participate in the meeting, was anxious. It was not easy for them to unite as a group to deal with Between the Clouds and the Water. If they were to disperse like this, they would not be able to regroup again. This would only make the name Between the Clouds and the Water even more famous. He hurriedly tried to dissuade them. Everyone, don't be anxious. Think about it again. There's always a way. Jiang Lan also said, Fine, I'll think about it later. When I have a solution, I'll discuss it with you guys. Let's go buy a bicycle first. The merchants left one by one, very discouraged. Originally, they were planning to deal with Between the Clouds and the Water. Now, they were going to buy Jiang Dongjia and Wang's bicycles. Those bicycles were not cheap. Zhang Dongjia and Wang's were not selling them well. Other than the rich people who bought one or two for the sake of novelty, no one else was willing to buy them. The worst bicycle cost more than 100 strings of coins. It was still possible to ride a bicycle in the city, but outside the city, when it was raining and the roads were not good, it was better to ride a carriage or a donkey. When everyone left and only Jiang Lan and Wu Feng were left, Wu Feng said to Jiang Lan with a sad face, "Jiang Dongjia, I don't know if they can still take out the money. Recently, they have to buy a batch of silk, so they are a little tight on cash." Jiang Lan shook her head regretfully. "Manager Wu, we have the money, but we can't transfer it over. We also need to make arrangements for the Jiangnan East Road. Why don't we ask other merchants? 3 days, at most 3 days. I will definitely be able to think of a way to solve the restaurant's problem." "All right, I will find someone to ask tomorrow." Wu Feng had no other choice. Recently, he had bought too much silk. The silk he bought in private was sold at a 10% discount or 95% of the original price. He was afraid of alerting the enemy, so he had not deposited it in the bank yet. He planned to wait for a period of time before depositing it all together and taking it out in batches. The key was to get through this period of time. After Wu Feng left with his people, Jiang Lan smiled and picked up the cold tea in front of her. She took a sip and muttered, "You dare to fight with the young master? Take the silk, take it. Let's see who loses in the end." The capital was bustling with people coming and going. The number of animals in the zoo had increased by quite a lot. Those animals that could be raised well were gradually opened to tourists. In order to ensure the freshness of the animals, the newly arrived animals were not immediately shown to people, but taken out bit by bit. People who did not have other channels to learn about animals still yearned for the zoo. This led to the zoo's income being much higher than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's. Other than the cost of feeding and research, there was still a sum of money left. Today was the day of the end of the month settlement. Gao Lisher brought people to deposit the money. When he returned, there was a team that specialized in pulling money. They came to Xingqing Palace and reported to Li Longji. "This month, we earned a total of 6,000 strings of cash from selling tickets and renting out stalls. Good, we earned quite a lot. We have extra money to use again." Hearing the data from Gao Lisher, Li Longji noted down a round number. 6,000 strings of cash was not much compared to the tax, but it was still an income, and it was increasing month by month. "Your Majesty, Xiao Bao sent a letter saying that he will send 2 sharks in a few days. He wants us to build a pond here first, which is where Your Majesty wants to build the lake. It will be used to raise the creatures in the sea first. After all, there is not enough salt in Jili State yet. Also, Xiao Bao suggested that Your Majesty should open up the imperial gardens a few times a month. Otherwise, it would be a waste to leave them there. Jili State will provide a lot of things there for others to buy and sell in the gardens." Gao Lisher brought up 2 more things. In the past, Li Longji would not agree to open up the imperial gardens so casually. It was a symbol of identity and status. Now, he had changed a lot and knew the importance of money. He wanted to occupy more land, but it was absolutely impossible without money, especially recruiting conscripts. It was better than letting each place raise money to recruit soldiers. It could prevent others from rebelling. So he agreed. Seeing that the emperor agreed to the 2 things, Gao Lisher took out a few pieces of paper that looked special. They were 6 inches long and 2 inches wide. There were delicate patterns printed on both sides. When he touched them with his hand, he could feel the bumps and depressions in some places. Li Longji took them and looked at them one by one. There were different numbers written on them. Some were 100 coins, some were 1,000 coins, and the smallest one was 10 coins. The paper was a little small. The only thing that did not change was Kaiyuan Tongbao. "This is?" Li Longji waved the paper in his hand and asked, "Your Majesty, this is the money that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo asked people to make. In the future, it will be used to replace copper coins and silk. It is said that countless craftsmen work together to create this anti-counterfeiting thing. If you look at it, you can see the bumps and depressions in the blank space on one side. It is not on the surface of the paper. Gao Lisher explained. Li Longji held the light paper in his hand and looked at the largest number on it, which was 1,000,000 coins. He felt that it was not so reliable. It was not as valuable as copper coins. He asked with uncertainty, will people be willing to use it? What will happen if it is less than 10 coins? Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are currently making the money that is less than 10 coins. They need to use a die to press it and not cast it like before. When the time comes, if someone wants to forge it by hand, it will not be worth the effort. As for whether people will be willing to use paper money, this is easy to handle. Xiao Bao wants Your Majesty to issue a decree that when paper money is issued, the imperial court will accept paper money for tax purposes. Xiao Bao will also cooperate with other merchants to accept the purchasing power of paper money. When people get used to it, it will be fine. Gao Lisher said, and then said, Your Majesty, the benefits of using paper money are not only to prevent people from making copper coins privately, but also to eliminate the storage cost of silk. More importantly, it is convenient to carry. It saves a lot of effort when transporting compared to copper. There are other benefits that Xiao Bao did not mention. I think it will not be simple. Li Longji held the paper money in his hand and thought for a while. Then he said, let Xiao Bao and others print more first. Where is the place to print money? Li Longji was not stupid. He knew that printing money was unusual. If people casually printed money for fun in the future, the country would be finished. Your Majesty, the place to print money is now in Jili province. Xiao Bao is preparing to move the printing factory to the capital. When the time comes, Your Majesty should find someone to guard it. Gao Lisher immediately responded. Then what should we do with the silk? There is a lot of silk in the Tang Empire. Should we sell it to the people? Li Longji thought of another problem that needed to be solved. Gao Lisher sighed and replied, Your Majesty, there is already a market for the silk. It can be sold in Xinyuan Province, Japan, and Xinlua. There are also merchants in Tufan and Tudua. Xiao Bao is considering cooperation with them. Xinyuan Province in Japan will be handed over to merchants in Jiangnan East. Other places have not been considered yet. Jiangnan East? Blue Sea Silver Sand? Li Longji suddenly thought of the restaurant between the clouds and the water. Yes, Xiao Bao wrote in a letter that Blue Sea Silver Sand is also his. It is not a good thing for between the clouds and the water to monopolize. It needs competitors. It is just that merchants who cooperate with Blue Sea Silver Sand to deal with between the clouds and the water are suffering. Most of their money is restricted, and they can only make a little money. Gao Lisher showed an expression of schadenfreude. Li Longji was stunned and said, No wonder you can run the restaurants so well. I thought there was another capable person. I wrote a letter to Xiao Bao and asked him to leave some leeway. Don't be so ruthless. Li Longji did not doubt Zhang Xiaobao's ability. If he wanted to make people who opposed him lose all their property, there would be people who could survive. Your Majesty, rest assured. Xiao Bao has already stayed. In a few days, there will be new movements on the first and second floors of Blue Sea Silver Sand. At the same time, the third floor of Blue Sea Silver Sand, which is adjacent to or directly opposite between the clouds and the water, will also change. There will be competition and cooperation. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Come on. The government of Jili province was very lively. Xiao Bei and the others watched the two little ones trying to turn the tables and cheered them on. From time to time, they would give a demonstration. The two little ones did not understand what the others were shouting. When they saw someone turning the tables, they would follow suit. Every time they turned the tables, they would giggle a few times. They seemed to be very interested in this kind of game. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang also temporarily put aside their work and accompanied them, enjoying this warm moment. Only when the two little ones were tired and hungry and were about to cry did Xiao Bei and the others stop and find a wet nurse to feed their little brother and sister. Xiao Bao, when are we going to do it? Wang Wan suddenly asked a question that the others did not understand. Wait a little longer. When the news spreads to all the banks, we will come together. On the 6th of next month, I want to see who will cooperate with Wu Huifei after this incident. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Xiao Bei and the others, who said that they were going to find guards for him, run out one after another, and replied to Wang Wan. Wang Wan did not say anything more on this topic and changed the topic. Then what about printing money? How can we not let Li Longji print money randomly? Li Longji will not print money randomly. He is not stupid. Unless there is a financial problem, he will devalue the currency to deal with it. As for whether or not someone will print money crazily in the future, that is not something we can control. Zhang Xiaobao really did not know what to do about this matter. Not to mention now, even if it was at any other time, he would still print money. Which country had not done this before? Wang Wan stretched lazily. Then let's wait until the 6th. I am sleepy, so I will go back and take a nap. Tomorrow, we will send 1,000 people to North America to find something good for you. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The days passed by one after another. When the 6th arrived, the Great Tang Bank suddenly posted a notice. It said a total of 2 things. The first was naturally paper money. Zhang Xiaobao contacted many merchants and agreed to accept paper money. Anyone who used paper money to buy things would enjoy a 5% discount this month. Those who were used to using money did not have any objections, but the ordinary people were confused. Could a piece of paper be used as money? Even with the merchant's promise, they were hesitant. They wanted to see the effect if someone else changed it first. The smarter people immediately thought of counterfeiting. In the past, they could secretly make copper coins, so now they could try to make paper money. However, when they saw paper money, they were discouraged. It was too difficult to make. If they used a pen to draw, it would be easy to make mistakes in the small details. They also had to find the same paper and the same oil. Drawing one would take at least a few months. It was also possible to draw 100 strings of coins. The problem was how to make the marks on the paper between the bumps and depressions on the money and the light. Those who wanted to counterfeit temporarily suppressed their thoughts. They needed to improve their skills. Chapter 795. Wu Yu, who was busy buying silk at a lower price, was dumbfounded when he saw the notice posted by the Tang Bank. For the exchange of silk, the bank was only offering 80% of the original value. A bolt of silk that was once worth 200 copper coins could only be exchanged for 160 copper coins. If one did not want to depreciate, one had to save it for 5 years. Before the 5 years were up, the silk would be worth 80% of its original value. Wu Feng was not in the mood to care about the Jade Sea silver sand. He hurriedly found Wu Yu, and the two began to discuss. Brother, is Zhang Xiaobao sick? Silk has always been used as a currency. He suddenly reduced the value of silk. What can so many people with silk do? This is equivalent to making people with silk lose 20% of their money. How much profit can the goods make? Wu Yu now knew a lot of things. With a little analysis, he knew where the drawbacks of the bank were. If they followed the bank's notice, the Tang Empire would be in chaos. Wu Feng nodded to show that he understood. His eyes blinked a few times, and he suddenly said happily, maybe Zhang Xiaobao no longer cares about the lives of the people. It's a good time to find trouble with him. Now, no one can protect him, not even the emperor. Yes, let Her Highness find trouble with him. I'm still using money to buy silk. 90% of the price. Oh no, I don't have any cash. Wu Yu was happy when he suddenly thought of a very serious problem. He raised the money with great difficulty and was still buying silk. Now that the bank was using 80% of the price to buy silk, wouldn't his money be gone in the blink of an eye? Wu Huifei was happy when she found out about the Tang Bank's notice. Opportunity. The opportunity was right in front of her. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had always been careful. This time, there was a loophole. Didn't they always say that they were thinking of the people? How should the bank explain buying silk at a lower price? Soon, Wu Huifei found her officials and prepared to impeach Zhang Xiaobao for disrupting the Tang Empire's economy and destroying the foundation of the country. Once the impeachment was successful, even if Zhang Xiaobao did not die, he would lose a lot of skin. Wu Huifei and Zhang Shuo, who was also waiting for an opportunity, almost coincidentally had the same idea. After a private discussion, they decided to launch the attack at the morning court the next day. Empress, it's not good. Something big has happened. The Great Tang Bank is in trouble. Xiao Zhu, who had just received the news, found Empress Wang while panting. Her chest heaved up and down as she told Empress Wang everything. After hearing Xiao Zhu's words, Empress Wang could no longer remain calm. Her expression changed as she said, "How could Xiao Bao come up with such an idea? You want to push me into the fire pit? Was someone trying to frame Xiao Bao? Quick, go find Gao Lisher." While many people were either happy or anxious, Li Longji was very calm as he played Go with Gao Lisher. Seeing that Gao Lisher was only able to parry and had no strength to counterattack, Li Longji used his hand to lightly twirl a Go piece and said, "Starting from this year's autumn harvest, it will not be difficult for the people to wear clothes." Gao Lisher was thinking hard about the Go game and also had to deal with Li Longji's words. He frowned and randomly placed the black Go piece. Wiping the sweat on his forehead, he replied, "Your Majesty's words are correct. This official estimates that many people will impeach Xiao Bao tomorrow morning. Your Majesty had better quickly release the news. There's no rush. Xiao Bao has said in his heart that we must wait until all the officials are impeached before we act. If we act too early, there will be people who will deliberately oppose us." This step was originally difficult to take, but with the announcement from the bank, it actually went smoothly. Li Longji placed a Go piece and continued to force Gao Lisher to defend as he spoke casually. The next morning, just as Gao Lisher and Li Longji had guessed, the officials from the censorate and the head of the secretariat both impeached Zhang Xiaobao at the same time. Some said that Zhang Xiaobao should not continue to manage the bank. Some said that he wanted to harm the country and the people. And some even said that he wanted to shake the foundation of the Great Tang. At this moment, no one was speaking up for Zhang Xiaobao. Sitting on the platform, Li Longji looked at the officials on the two sides of the platform. Some were silent, some were whispering to the people beside them, and some were following the censorate and the head of the secretariat in impeaching Zhang Xiaobao. His face remained calm throughout. Only when some people said that they were tired and others said that their legs were numb from standing did the crowd realize that there was something wrong with the emperor's attitude. Zhang Shuo, who had been silent all this while and had been waiting for the emperor to get angry, decided to step forward and list Zhang Xiaobao's crimes. After thinking for a while, he finally stepped forward and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, does the manager of the Great Tang Bank, Zhang Xiaobao, have any other tricks that he has not used yet? Currency is an important matter for the people and must be investigated." As soon as Zhang Shuo said those words, the officials from the censorate and the head of the secretariat looked at each other. What did he mean? Didn't they say that they would impeach Zhang Xiaobao together? Why did they suddenly change their minds? Li Longji was waiting for others to ask. Otherwise, how could he show off his ability? He nodded, indicating for Zhang Shuo to step back, and then opened his mouth. What does the Great Tang Bank's 80% revenue have to do with currency? It's not like we don't allow silk to be used as money. It's fine as long as we don't deposit it in the bank. Can it be that when the bank puts up a notice saying that it's buying silk at 10%, there will still be people fighting to deposit it? After hearing this, the officials felt that it was very reasonable. But why did it feel like this reasoning did not hold water? Where did it go wrong? That's right, the bank was buying silk at a low price, so there was no need to deposit it. No one was forcing anyone to deposit it. But this matter should not be so simple. What was going on? Zhang Shuo did not immediately react and stood there in a daze. At this time, Li Linfu, who had returned to the court, stood up and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, firstly, the bank's name is Great Tang, and the people all know that most of the bank's wealth belongs to the imperial court. The bank's notice is issued on behalf of the imperial court. The people do not know the emperor's words, so they only hear it for your majesty. Secondly, the transaction is 4 to 6 yen of silk, and the bank is willing to deposit it far and take it near. However, silk is cheap, so how can there be silk in the market? If silk does not exist, how can there be business? Hence, it is cheap and has left the money of the market. It can only become goods, or the people will riot. When the others who wanted to impeach Zhang Xiaobao heard this, they suddenly understood. That's right, the bank's name was Great Tang, and everyone knew that the Great Tang Bank was under the control of the imperial court. Wasn't the bank's notice the emperor's intention? How could it be separated? Also, those who did not deposit silk in the bank would leave it behind. They would only deposit their money in the bank here and go to the place where they needed it. It had always been 40% of the silk and 60% of the money. If there was no silk left, how could they trade with others? If everyone did not want silk, the price would be even lower. It was estimated that it would not be long before silk could no longer be used as a currency, and it would become ordinary cloth to be traded. If things went wrong, the people would be in chaos. Finally, they found the root of the problem. Those who wanted to impeach Zhang Xiaobao were eager to give it a try again. Li Longji, who was originally trying to deceive the officials, did not care when he saw a smart person appear. He went along with Li Lingfu's words and said, "What you said is very true, and we also know that. Therefore, we want to collect silk to fill the national treasury. The time limit is 5 years. The difference between this and the bank is that we will pay interest. Every silk sold will be 1 yen, and we will return it after 5 years. Does everyone agree? Does your majesty want to lend money to the people?" Zhang Shuo stood up and asked. "No, we are using money to give to the people. Now that the national treasury is full, it will be even more in 5 years. We will return the money to the people and hide the wealth from the people. When the people are rich, they will be healthy. And when the people are healthy, the country will be strong." Li Longji did not admit that he wanted to borrow from the national treasury. He also wanted to sell the silk sold to the neighboring countries in exchange for better resources. He wanted to abolish the use of silk as a currency. Zhang Shuo thought about it and felt that it was reasonable. The national treasury was not lacking in money, and there was no need to cheat the people of their money. However, there was a problem with this. So he said, "Your Majesty, every silk sold will be 1 yen per month. If it is 1 yen per year, it will be at least 12 yen per year, or 13 yen per year. If it is 5 years, it will be at least 60 yen per year. Does the national treasury have that much money? We are using money to make money. It is not like we are always keeping the money in the national treasury. We can buy goods from the neighboring countries. As long as we earn more than what is given in 5 years, it will be fine." Li Longji explained the problem. In fact, there was something he did not say, and that was that the currency would gradually depreciate. The more productive the economy was, the higher the price of luxury goods would be. When that time came, the price of currency would also fluctuate, and the general trend would be to depreciate. As the number of goods increased, the income of the people would also increase. This could balance out the value of the currency that was depreciating. However, the national treasury was really cheap. This was especially so for Xinyuan Island. The island was not small. From Zhang Xiaobao and the merchants who went there, they knew that there were many good things there. However, the local people were very poor in terms of daily necessities, especially clothes and beds. The local tribe leader was willing to send 100 people to work for a month for a beautiful piece of clothing. How could there be such a good thing in the Great Tang? After hearing Li Longji's words, the person who had just accused Zhang Xiaobao was speechless. Zhang Shuo was a little unwilling. Just as he was about to continue arguing for the emperor to punish Zhang Xiaobao, Li Longji spoke again. "The printing of banknotes cannot be done in Jili province. It needs to be moved to the capital. Who do you think should be in charge of it? Printing money?" These 2 words suddenly appeared in their minds. It was not only the person who had accused Zhang Xiaobao. Everyone focused their attention. Everyone wanted a share. In the end, Zhang Xiaobao was selectively forgotten. Even Zhang Shuo did not have the heart to continue to pay attention to Zhang Xiaobao. After a series of arguments, a balance was finally reached when the court was about to leave. The Secretary of the Palace took the lead. The Ministry of Revenue would do the work. The Ministry of Military Affairs would send people to guard the banknotes. The Ministry of Justice would set the punishment. The Ministry of Rights would think of a design that would conform to etiquette in the future. The Ministry of Works would provide the equipment, and the Ministry of Appointments would arrange the official positions. When everyone returned to their own departments after the court, they found that no one had taken advantage of the situation. They were all in charge of each other, and it was impossible to print any private money. Very soon, the imperial court's notice was sent to the local government offices, and people were posted. The court set a time limit of 4 months. It would only take 4 months for the banknotes to be collected. After 4 months, it would not be collected. The court urged people to dispose of the banknotes in their hands as quickly as possible. Chapter 796. To the commoners, it was not important whether the silk was used for exchange. Normally, they would not have the opportunity to use silk as a currency. The people who were affected the most were the merchants. Seeing that the silk was about to fall from the status of a currency to that of an ordinary commodity, a portion of the merchants, who did not make much profit, realized that it was better to lend it to the imperial court. After 5 years, they would get 60% of the profit. The merchants who had faster currency circulation were not willing to take the 60% profit. In 5 years, they could earn 3,000 strings of coins from 1,000 strings of coins. That was double the money, so they reluctantly sold it to the bank. Wu Yu's reaction was not slow, but when his order was passed down, all the cash had been exchanged for silk. The average price was 180 strings of coins for a bolt of silk, 90% of the profit. The sky outside was very clear, and it was not an exaggeration to say that there was not a cloud in sight. Wu Yu and Wu Feng's mood was as if it was a rainy day. "Brother, what do we do?" It was the first time Wu Yu felt so helpless. While he and the others were busy with Xiao Zhao's calculations, Zhang Xiaobao's decision made the situation become unstoppable. He finally understood that Zhang Xiaobao had never treated him and the others as opponents from the beginning. Compared to Wu Yu, Wu Feng had a better understanding of Zhang Xiaobao's prowess. When he laid out the plan, it could be said that he was at ease, but when he wanted to compete with him, he realized that he was not on the same level. Facing Wu Yu's questioning gaze, he said, "Tell the Empress to stop. Don't expect to beat Zhang Xiaobao financially. That is a celestial existence, not something we can compete with." "Brother, I don't understand. Why would the emperor listen to Zhang Xiaobao? The imperial court took in so much silk. Is he not afraid of something happening? That silk can be spoiled." Wu Yu was not convinced. He thought that the emperor was biased toward Zhang Xiaobao and was willing to let the national treasury suffer losses for Zhang Xiaobao. Wu Feng glared at him. "What nonsense are you talking about? Why would the emperor help Zhang Xiaobao? It's not like you don't know how the Zhang family and Wang family do things. Haven't you seen all the information? Their two families had always planned things out first and would only make a move when the time was right. Not to mention you, there are countless officials in the imperial court. Who dares to say that they can clearly see what the Zhang family and Wang family want to do when they start operating? How did Sanshui County become Shan County from Zhong County? First of all, everything was independent. Some were for earning money, and some were for fame. And the result? You and I are not capable enough. Don't try to figure out other people's thoughts. If you really want to get in touch with them, you can defeat Song Jinggong. Maybe you can get a glimpse of the list of the top billionaires." Wu Yu lowered her head and finally sighed helplessly. "Brother, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. You can tell the Empress that I don't want to be number one anymore. That's not a game. That's a real business battle. Even politics is involved. I'm going to sleep. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. That's enough." Send something to the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office one more time, and you can stop. For the last time, you should send various kinds of tools and steel that didn't pass the smelting process. Let people make various kinds of household appliances and send them over. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the information sent back from the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office and ordered the people waiting at the door. After the people received the order and left, Wang Wan came over with dark circles under her eyes. Xiaobao, I've sent people out. As for whether they can reach North America in the end, I'm not sure. In fact, it's best to send people from Team Zero. There are no roads in North America now. The jungles, there are all kinds of wild animals. The people sent may not be able to meet the requirements. 1,000 people. I'll be satisfied if I can get the remaining 100 people. Do you think the people in the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office will really have the intention to oppose? You go and rest in a while. I'll take Xiao Bei and the others to the beach to play. Don't worry about those 1,000 people. The jungles in North America are dangerous, but people learn. If some people die, they'll naturally understand more things. Zhang Xiaobao found his swimming trunks and looked at the world map that was not very neat on the table. His eyes were full of determination as he looked at Wang Wan's dark circles and said. Seeing that Wang Wan was still worried, he said, "To be honest, I'm not willing to enter the primitive jungles. I'm not sure if I can easily survive in such a place. Miasma, poisonous grass, insects, snakes, and wild animals. Whether it's the Delta, the Beret, or the Alpha, who can guarantee that they can return safely? I don't think the three you mentioned are the most powerful. There are more powerful people than them," Wang Wan retorted. "I know you want to say that the special forces in China are all the same. The powerful people are not limited by the region or country. But in that kind of place, your bawang flower is useless. The 1,000 people are just going to explore the road. We don't expect them to fight from North America to South America. Didn't you give them a lot of good things when they left? As long as they can contact the local natives, I believe their survival rate will be very high. You go to sleep, I'm leaving." Zhang Xiaobao was not willing to argue with Wang Wan about this kind of uncertain thing. He carried Wang Wan to the bed, picked up his things, and left. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao's figure at the door, Wang Wan closed her eyes and muttered discontentedly, "It's fine as long as the bawang flower can control you." Humph. Today was the day Zhang Xiaobao took his younger brothers and sisters to hold a beach picnic. It was once every half a month. As the weather was getting warmer, they could play in the sea. There were many good beaches in Jili State. Zhang Xiaobao did not plan to take his younger brothers and sisters to play in the Broken Star Ocean Park where he was at that time. The broken place there could be cut by stones if they were not careful. Perhaps it was because of the impression at that time, but Zhang Xiaobao's attitude towards that park was not good at all. There were no small fish, few crabs, and no seabirds in the sky. When one entered the water, one would feel the sharpness of the stones. Groups of people crowded there like a bathtub, and they were not allowed to barbecue. Of course, Zhang Xiaobao had only been there once to check out the specific terrain. In order to cheat, he endured it. This time was different. The whole Jili State was under his control. Of course, he had to choose the best place. Xiao Bei and the others were already prepared. Everyone carried a big bag and looked excited. They cherished the opportunity that was once every half a month. They complained that it was not enough. They never thought that once every half a month they would go for 4 or 5 days. In other words, 1/3 of the month was spent on this. They went to the beach once half a month ago. The water was still cold. In the end, Xiao Bei and the others did not swim for a long time. They were very regretful. Now that it was warm, they decided to have fun. Thus, Xiao Bei and the others found over 100 boys between the ages of 8 and 10 in the vicinity of the state capital. They wanted them to join their family and become their guards. 100 children were still unable to understand the true meaning of being a guard. They stood in a straight line with curiosity, waiting to set off. Yes, a straight curve, at least in Xiao Hai's eyes. He divided the curve into sections of straight lines. According to his understanding of advanced mathematics, which he had not learned yet, this was the limit. At this time, the road in Jili State was much better than when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wen had just arrived. There was no need to deliberately fix it. Where there were people, there would naturally be communication. The people would find ways to fix the road themselves. The group of children walked forward on foot. Their calves were tense. Zhang Xiaobao also trotted beside them. The biggest advantage of children was that their physical strength recovered very quickly. Although the adult perseverance was stronger than the children's, their bodies were not as strong as the children's. At the end of the day, when the children were tired, they only needed to eat a meal and rest for a while. The adults would feel their waist ache, back pain, and legs numb. When the stars and the moon accompanied them, Xiao Bei and the others finally arrived at the beach. After the soldiers guarding the beach helped set up the tents and lit the fire, they gathered together excitedly. They put on thick gloves and roasted the prawns caught by the soldiers on the iron net. Zhang Liang, roast a prawn for me. Xiao Bei came to a boy and ordered. Why? My name is Li Liang, not Zhang Liang. The boy who was ordered did not give Xiao Bei any face. You are my guard. Of course, the Zhang family's guard has to have the surname Zhang. Guard should do such things. Xiao Bei explained to Li Liang seriously. Then I won't be your guard. Li Liang immediately changed his mind. Xiao Bei pouted. I knew you were unreliable. Xiao Yuan, roast a prawn for me. Why? Xiao Yuan, who was not far away, was puzzled. Because I want to eat it. Xiao Bei's reason was very good. TSK. If you are too far away, you will not be a grandson. Xiao Yuan replied. Xiao Bei's eyes immediately glared. Who are you calling a villain? I didn't say you were a villain. I said you were a woman. Brother, prepare a rope for me. I want to make a tripping rope. Xiao Bei shouted to Zhang Xiaobao, who was sitting at the side. Xiao Bei, I look down on you. Other than using this to scare me, what other abilities do you have? Do you think I'm afraid of you? Xiao Yuan deftly picked up a freshly roasted prawn with a pair of tweezers and approached Xiao Bei. You didn't put salt, right? I only like to eat the original flavor. No, it's the original flavor. Brother, don't use a rope. This is called subduing the enemy without fighting. Asterisk, 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 the sun jumped out of the sea. When the water was a little cold, Xiao Bei had already jumped into the water. A little further away, there were soldiers stationed here to protect him. Xiao Bei took a deep breath and lowered his head. He used both hands and feet to dive into the water. After a while, he emerged holding 2 shells in each hand. Looking at the people on the shore who didn't dare to go into the water, he muttered angrily. Guards are really unreliable. Even touching shells makes them so scared. I'll do it myself. When I find better guards, I'll eliminate all of them. The local children that Xiao Bei and the others found still didn't understand what guards meant, but the children in other places had already memorized the concept of guards in their hearts. Of the 100 or so children who came to the seaside, most of them didn't know how to swim. Only a dozen or so had gone into the water before, and they weren't very good swimmers. Xiao Bei and the others, who couldn't count on others, could only jump into the water to fish for shells themselves. A wooden box with a pendant was placed on the bottom. When it was placed on the surface of the sea, it rose and fell with the waves. Xiao Bei and the others surrounded their respective boxes and kept diving and floating, making the group of children on the shore surprised and impressed. Zhang Xiaobao looked at his younger siblings and prepared to rescue them at any time. When the temperature of the water rose little by little, the 100 or so children on the shore also jumped into the shallow water. A large boat appeared on the surface of the sea, gradually growing bigger from a black. Chapter 797. When Xiao Bei and the others had gathered enough shells and were about to go ashore to roast them, the boat carrying the children became clear in everyone's eyes. Where did the boat come from? Xiao Bei shook the water off her hands and looked at the boat in confusion. If it wasn't for the flag of her family, she would have thought that someone was trying to sneak an attack on them while they were here to play. Zhang Xiaobao, who had also come ashore, smiled and didn't say anything. It wasn't until the boat got closer and could no longer move forward that Xiao Bei and the others saw the other party's approximate age and the clothes they were wearing on the boat that Xiao Bei and the others saw clearly. "Brother, where did the guard come from? He's so small." Xiao Bei opened her mouth in surprise and pulled Zhang Xiaobao's hand. "He's not small anymore. The younger ones are already high-ranking officials. How can a 10-year-old guard be small?" Zhang Xiaobao rubbed Xiao Bei's head and said with a wink, "Oh, so that's the case. Brother, the guard you asked for is too small." Xiao Bei reluctantly admitted this fact. Zhang Xiaobao shut his mouth again. Xiao Yuan, who was at the side, shook her head twice and suddenly revealed an expression as if she knew everything. She said to Xiao Bei, As for this guard, I know." "You know? Quick, tell me about it." Xiao Bei poked Xiao Yuan. My hand touched something hard in the water, just now. I can't rely on the shells later. Who can help me roast them?" Xiao Yuan had a pained expression and waved her hand in front of her eyes. Xiao Bei pouted and muttered, "My brother will roast them for you. Tell me quickly." "I like to eat Xiao Bei's roasted shells. I don't eat other people's roasted shells. What should I do?" Xiao Yuan turned to look at Xiao Bei and asked, "You tell me first. After you're done, I'll see if I can roast them for you." Xiao Bei acted like an adult and began to negotiate with Xiao Yuan. "I forgot. If no one agrees, my brain won't work." Xiao Yuan shook her head. "I'll roast them for you. Roast shells, right? Okay, tell me." Xiao Bei pretended to be angry and turned her head to the other side. Satisfied, Xiao Yuan pointed at the boat coming over and said, "Do you still need to ask? The person coming over is our guard. You can't find someone else." "Yes, no." "Really? Brother, is it true? Is it true?" Xiao Bei excitedly grabbed Zhang Xiaobao's hand and shook it back and forth. Only then did Zhang Xiaobao reply, "Now we have bodyguards. Don't bully them." "I won't bully you. I won't bully you. I have guards now. Where did they come from? It's so neat." Xiao Bei's eyes narrowed into crescents. As the boat got closer and closer to shore, the children on the boat could clearly see the people standing on the shore. They were just as excited as Xiao Bei. They were all from the Zhang family, Wang family, and Zhuangzi family. Usually, they were not as smart as the others. Since they were 7 years old, they had been taught and trained to help the main family ensure their safety. Now, they had been training for 3 years. Their physiques were much stronger than other children of the same age. After Zhang Xiaobao knew that Xiao Bei and the others had found guards to make things difficult for them, he sent someone to deliver a letter back. He did not expect them to be able to fight immediately. He only wanted them to be on good terms with Xiao Bei and the others and be familiar with each other. Although this group of children had already given up on the idea of relying on literary examinations, they were all literate and knew how to count. The reason why they were not allowed to continue studying in the academy was firstly, because they were not willing to study. Secondly, even if they studied, they had no hope of passing the imperial examinations. On the contrary, a group of people focused on studying. They usually only did broadcast gymnastics and received different training. Accompanied by the sound of splashing water, Xiao Bei and the others jumped into the sea again and swam towards the approaching boat. This time, they forgot about the children on the shore. Compared to the children on the shore were obviously better. Whether it was their neat clothes or their upright posture on the boat, they were not comparable to the children on the shore. Of course, Xiao Bei and the others could not understand the real benefits of the people from Zhuangzi and Zhang Xiaobao families, which were not only in terms of clothes and posture. There was no need to worry about loyalty. If they grew up with Xiao Bei and the others, their fighting strength would be incomparable to that of ordinary people. They were different from the children in Jili province. They had their own beliefs. When they were young, they were taught by adults. They had to be loyal to the main family and listen to the main family. Such indoctrination had lasted until now. They were on the same side, so they could rest assured. After 3 years of targeted training, they stood there one by one with a firm look in their eyes. No matter who saw them, they would praise them. Plop, plop, plop. Xiao Bei swam to the side of the boat at the very front. He stretched out his hand and let someone pull him up. Panting, he came in front of a row of children and looked up into their eyes. He poked a person with his hand and asked, "Where did you come from? Are you good at fighting?" When the children came, they had already been told that they were going to be the guards of the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Xiaobao. They had already seen Xiao Bei's appearance from pictures. The child who was poked by Xiao Bei puffed out his chest and lowered his head. In reply to Miss Xiao Bei, "I am from Zhangji Wangzi. We grew up together. I can fight 3 of them alone." You hit me? Who hit me? Fang Changyun, who was awakened by the pain, covered his face and asked, "Commander Fang, it's not good. The beacon tower over there has already been 2 hours, and it's still burning. Furthermore, there are 2 wisps of smoke rising at the same time. It's not the same as before." The person who retracted his hand nervously pointed at the distant beacon tower and shouted at Fang Changyun, "What? 2 wisps of smoke rising at the same time? It's been 2 hours? Not good. Quick, light the beacon and send people out to check." Fang Changyun could no longer care about the pain on his face. He opened his eyes wide and shouted at the beacon tower. Chapter 798. 2 beacons of smoke rose from the beacon towers near Pengzhou Pass. Fang Changyun did not dare to delay. He ordered people to light the beacons and sent people to check on Jinchuan. There was 1 beacon tower every 30 li, and the distance was arranged according to visibility. From the time the beacon in Jinchuan was lit to when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan received the letter from the pigeons in Jili Prefecture, it only took 11 hours. Most of the time was wasted on the pigeons flying. There was not much content in the letter. It just said that there were 2 beacons of smoke coming from Jinchuan. It asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to consider what to do. 2 beacons of smoke, not the beacons of safety. It seems that there is some trouble over there. Is it Tubo or Tujue? Zhang Xiaobao understood the meaning of the 2 beacons of smoke. There was a line in Du Fu's poem, "Lone smoke rises in the desert." This did not only express desolation, but also a sense of peace in a distant place. 1 beacon fire was for peace. 2 beacon fires were for a situation. 3 beacon fires were for war. Of course, there were many details in the letter. For example, the length of time the beacon fires burned, the time when the beacon fires were lit, and so on. There were many explanations. Otherwise, they would not know that the news came from Jinchuan. Wang Wan also appeared to be a little anxious. The speed at which the news was transmitted was fast, but that was from other places to the capital, not from the capital to other places. Furthermore, the news was not very specific. No one knew what exactly happened at Jinchuan. Looking at Xiao Bei and the others who were still playing games with the newly arrived guards of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family, Wang Wan looked to the west and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Let's see what is going on first. Don't be afraid. There are more than 100,000 slaves over there. Even if they want to attack, they will not be able to do it in a short time. Could it be that the Tubo's life is getting more and more difficult, and they finally can't help but fight to the death? If that's the case, we'll have to go again. Jinchuan's army can't be commanded by anyone else. If someone takes a fancy to it and reports it to the imperial court, they should be moved to the Great Tang." Zhang Xiaobao nodded to show that he understood. Although they had been helping Li Longji and had a good relationship with each other, that was only possible because the 2 of them could restrain Li Longji at any time. If Li Longji was in a bad mood one day, or if he suddenly decided to deal with the 2 families, Lu Zhou and Jinchuan would have to act together. After all, military power was the right to speak. As if sensing that her brother and sister were not in a good mood, Xiao Bei, who was competing with the guards of the Zhang family and Wang family to see who could catch the most good things in the sea, suddenly stopped and hurriedly swam to the shore. She blinked her big eyes and approached Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. "Are you going back to the manor? Then you can come back to play in the future. It's fine. I can still continue to train the guards when I go back. I've caught a lot of spoonworms. I'll fry them when I get back." Originally, they were going to stay for at least 3 days. If they were going to leave, they would only stay for 2 days. For children, playing for a while was a kind of happiness, let alone playing for a day. Xiao Bei was very sensible and resisted the idea of continuing to play. She had long been used to running around with her family. Zhang Xiaobao touched his sister's forehead and tucked back the hair sticking out of the swimming cap on his face. He said to Xiao Bei, "We're not going back. The matters in Jinchuan are the same as in Yizhou. It's the same here as in the manor." "Oh, then I'll go play." "Aya, is there going to be a war? Bring me along. I'm very powerful. Even Xiao Yuan is afraid of my tripping rope." Xiao Bei's heart settled back down. After saying this, she ran back into the water. When the water reached her thighs, she dove in with a splash and swam towards the place where the children were gathered. Seeing Xiao Bei swim back, Zhang Xiaobao revealed a smile. "Don't let the adults' matters affect the children. Let Shui Yun go and take a look. If necessary, beat them again. That's fine. Someone go and find Zhang Ying." Wang Wan ordered someone standing not far away. Zhang Ying followed them and searched for eagles by the seaside. Zhang, who left with 1,000 soldiers to explore the road to North America. He brought along a lot of dogs. After a while, Zhang Ying arrived in front of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. "Let Shui Yun go to Jinchuan and ask what happened there. Bring back the news." Zhang Xiaobao pointed at Shui Yun, who was still soaring in the clouds, and said to Zhang Ying. After a whistle, Shui Yun spread her wings and landed on Zhang Ying's arm. She shook her head, giving people a feeling of puzzlement. Zhang Ying ordered someone to bring a pattern with the characteristics of Jinchuan. Zhang Ying made a few gestures to Shui Yun. Shui Yun's gaze fell on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. She blinked her eyes and looked to the west. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly had a strange feeling. Shui Yun knew how far Jinchuan was from Jili State and didn't want to go. "Someone go and kill a cow," Zhang Xiaobao said to the person next to him. The family servants immediately went to the nearest place to find a cow, killed it, and dragged it back, dripping with blood. Zhang Xiaobao personally cut a few pieces of beef and fed them to Shui Yun one by one. He didn't care whether Shui Yun could understand or not. He said to her, "Go. You can still eat beef when you get there. When you come back, I'll kill another one for you. It's a little far, but this mission is difficult and honorable. No one can do it except you." Zhang Ying also touched Shui Yun's neck with heartache. The distance from Jili State to Jinchuan was not ordinary, but they had to go. They could only wait for Shui Yun to come back and nourish her body. Shui Yun seemed to know that she had to go on an errand. She tried to eat the beef so that she could store more energy to support the flight. When she really couldn't eat anymore, Wang Wan had finished writing the letter. She put it in a bamboo tube and tied it to Shui Yun. Shui Yun rubbed her head against Zhang Ying's face intimately. Following the movement of Zhang Ying's arm, she soared into the air and circled in the sky. She let out a cry and flew to the west. It would be great if all eagles could be like Shui Yun. I hope she won't encounter any danger on the way. Let's barbecue beef tonight. Zhang Xiaobao sighed as he watched Shui Yun turn into a black dot and disappear into the sky. At the same time, Zhang Ying retracted his gaze and comforted Zhang Xiaobao. "Don't worry, little young master. Shui Yun is very smart. If she gets hungry on the way, she will find animals that are easy to catch to eat. She won't lose the letter. I also want to find more eagles, like Shui Yun. Unfortunately, I've caught many eagles, but none of them can reach Shui Yun's level. Just like the big dog that the little lady brought back from Luzhou, it's almost psychic. Little young master, little lady, is something wrong with Jinchuan?" Zhang Ying didn't read the letter, so he didn't know the specific situation. The two beacons are busy dealing with the matters here. The surrounding commander-in-chief manners are restless. If something really happened to Jinchuan, I'll discuss it with the people around me and go with Cuckoo. This time, I won't be surnamed Zhang if I don't make them obedient. Zhang Xiaobao explained to Zhang Ying. The most annoying thing for him was that he couldn't take care of both the front and the back. If Jinchuan's army didn't care, he could ask the imperial court to send a general to command it. Currently, there were a few powerful people who were good at war. Wang Wan was also furious. After Zhang Ying left to rest, she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, if something really happened to Jinchuan, let Sun Rinnegan take the people and hide. We can't go there for the time being. I have to deal with the surrounding matters first." "How are you going to deal with it?" Zhang Xiaobao truly didn't think that Wang Wan had other plans. "I'm not telling you. There are many things that you don't tell me. Go guess." "I'm going to swim." Wang Wan threw down these words, took off her outer clothes, and jumped into the sea in her swimsuit. "Fine, I won't tell you. I rushed over here this morning because I had a good plan to share with someone. Let's see who can stand it. I'm going to swim as well." Zhang Xiaobao muttered to himself and jumped into the sea as well. Compared to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who only found it troublesome, some people were in a bad mood because of the fire beacon incident. When the news came, Li Longji was in the morning court discussing state affairs with the officials. One was to continue opening the Great Tang Bank all over the Great Tang, and the other was to discuss the issue of the conscripts. The conscripts in Jili province could be said to have succeeded. The 30,000 soldiers who had been scattered throughout the various armies no longer had to eat just wine and meat like they had in the beginning. The soldiers didn't say anything. As long as their families had a good life, they had no reason to cause trouble. This kind of success gave Li Longji hope. He wanted to find another place to try again. Just as he was arguing with the officials, the fire beacon incident in Jianzhou came. He temporarily put aside other matters and began to guess what was going on. Who would dare to attack Jinchuan? Even after the morning court session ended, it was still not confirmed. After returning to Xingqing Palace, Li Longji was not happy when he heard that the construction of the artificial unsinkable lake was about to be completed. "Li Shi, do you think that Tubo is taking a risk?" Li Longji, who had drunk 2 bowls of iced sour plum soup, still felt like his heart was on fire. He asked Gao Li-Shi, who was waiting on him. How could Gao Li-Shi guess? He was even more anxious than Li Longji. On one hand, he was worried about the Great Tang, but on the other hand, he was worried about Xiaobao. Jinchuan was not under the jurisdiction of the Great Tang. Although the Great Tang had offered many local specialties this year, with the majority being desert sistanch, if the Great Tang really did send people to occupy it, regardless of whether Xiaobao and Cuckoo would agree or not, Tubo would not agree. If that happened, they would really have to hand over their territory to the Great Tang. The east of Jinchuan currently belonged to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. That was just an excuse for the caravan. If the Great Tang sent people to manage it, it would be a matter between countries. As Gao Li-Shi thought about it, his eyes hurt, as if the pain had reached his head. He massaged his temples and replied to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, it's just 2 plumes of smoke." Perhaps the people of Jinchuan saw wrongly and thought that someone was going to attack them. This subject thinks that Tubo currently relies on the Great Tang to exchange food for them and does not dare to make any rash moves. Although the Turks are also in the desert, they can't care too much. Your Majesty does not need to worry. The news should have already been sent to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. The 2 of them should have already made their decision. Once Jili province sends a letter, we will naturally know everything. Even Gao Li-Shi himself didn't believe his own words. The Tubo and Turks were wolves that couldn't be tamed. As long as they were given a chance, they would definitely grasp it. Otherwise, there was no need for them to continue sending troops to guard the borders. Li Longji also knew that Gao Li-Shi was comforting him. At this time, the only thing he could do was to believe his words, even if it was hard to be certain. Send a letter to Xiaobao and ask him what his plans are. Li Longji could not wait any longer. Shui Yun tried its best to fly, wanting to reach the place as soon as possible. It could feel the anxiety of its master. Even if it knew that the journey was long, it still wanted to complete the mission. The blue sky and white clouds accompanied each other. A light breeze blew, and it spread its wings. Every time it flapped, it had to travel a long distance. In the place Shui Yun was determined to reach, quite a few people were busying themselves, setting up temporary camps to guard against others. Zhang Yuzhu tried his best to press a rope woven from straw on the sand according to a diamond pattern. He also placed the seeds of the Haloxylon amandendron tree in the middle and carefully watered them with water from a bucket pushed over from a distant lake. When the Haloxylon amandendron tree grew, it was possible to find desert cistanch in it to repay the master. This method was taught by the master's young master and young lady. As long as one could collect 10 caddies of desert cistanch in a year, he would have a good life and would receive a lot of extra rewards. One had to know how to be content. Even if there were no rewards, one had to do a good job for the master. One's family name followed the master, and a stable life was also given by the master. Just as young Master Han said, one would only know what happiness was when there was a comparison. When some people were sad because they did not have shoes to wear, they would find that some people did not have feet. He had to cherish the days he had now. Even if the duo people who came the day before yesterday were eyeing him covetously, he was not afraid. If they really dared to attack, he would fight them to the death. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuzhu worked even harder. He seriously planted every seed, hoping that it would sprout and grow up. Looking at the guards from the master's house, Zhang Yuzhu was even more afraid. Compared to Zhang Yuzhu, Sun Rignigan was in a very bad mood. The group of duo people in the distance did not plan to leave since the day before yesterday. They looked like they were going to stay here permanently and built a temporary camp by the lake. More than 500 people did not come to harass them, but they did not leave either. If they wanted to keep 500 people here, it would be too easy. There were more than 100,000 people. Just the number of soldiers alone reached 20,000. 40 against 1. One person could strangle the other party to death with a pinch. Sun Rignigan was not worried about the 500 people, but what was behind them? There were also duo people in the Great Tang, so it was not strange. What was strange was that if they came to the lake in the desert, were they not worried that they would starve to death after eating the food they brought? When things were abnormal, there was bound to be a demon. Thinking of this, Sun Rignigan said to Han Xianfeng, who was also looking at the duo people with clairvoyance, "Young Master Han, do you think that the arrival of the duo people could be secretly supported by the Turks or Tibetans?" They are from two places? That can't be, right? Han Xianfeng could not be sure. The only thing he could be sure of was that the duo people who stayed by the lake did not come with good intentions. Mi Fan was already feeling uncomfortable. Ever since the duo people arrived, Mi Fan had not been able to eat. What kind of ability did Mi Fan have? It was very mysterious, and there was no way to explain it. However, it was this kind of existence that Mi Fan had never been wrong about since she had known it. Looking at it this way, the 500 duo people were the root cause. Let alone Han Xianfeng, who was unwilling to believe that the duo people had the support of the Turks or Tibetans. Even Sun Rignigan, who said this, did not believe it to be true. But based on the intelligence reports they had gathered, both the Turks and the Tibetans had such a possibility. While the Turks were internally unstable, ever since the Great Tang's Emperor Fengchan had dispatched soldiers to guard the border, the Turks had begun to shift their focus to the desert. Although Tibetans were lacking in food and had an unequal exchange with the Great Tang, the people who could eat large amounts of food were not slaves. The slaves only ate a small portion of the food. Taking advantage of the arrival of spring, they went to the mountains to dig up wild vegetables to replenish their food. There were also people who caught all kinds of insects to eat, especially locusts. On one hand, this could control the locust plague this year. On the other hand, a portion of the food saved could be used on real soldiers, and a portion could be stored for future use. Even a ghost would not believe that these two places did not have any ulterior motives. Young Master Han: if I were the leader of the Turks or Tibetans, I would support the Duo people and secretly provide them with all kinds of intelligence and food supplies. I would let them understand the price of desert sistanch between the clouds and the water after it is made into a dish. The desert sistanch here does not look expensive, but it is not cheap either. If you pick 10 caddies of desert sistanch, you can get 10 strings of cash as a reward. 10 strings of cash is enough to feed 10 pigs for a year, according to the current price of food. It can even be used to make a few sets of clothes for the pigs. But if you send it to between the clouds and the water and make it into a dish and sell it, it will be dozens or even hundreds of times the price. The nobles in the capital of the Great Tang are proud to be able to eat this dish. Let the Poly-Eater understand and then fight with us. Once a fight breaks out, there will be even more Poly-Eater participating. Both the Tubo and the Turks can just watch from the sidelines. This is called killing with a borrowed knife. Young Master Han, you must be on guard. Serenade said a lot of words, wanting Han Xianfeng to come up with a good plan as soon as possible. If this continued, the pressure in his heart would be too great. How could Han Xianfeng not understand? He put down his clairvoyance and looked up at the blue sky. He took a few deep breaths in the absence of wind, and then looked at the beacon tower that was still burning with twin flames. Serenade, the news has been spread, but the young master and young lady are in Jili province. It can be said that it is a long journey. When the two of them know, even if they rush 800 miles, they will have to wait for nearly a month. In addition, the beacon can't send specific information. When the young master and young lady know, they will send people over and then send people back. It will take at least a month and a half to go back and forth. That is if it is not raining on the road and it is easy to travel. Let's think of a solution ourselves. Han Xianfeng meant that he wanted to make a plan with Serenade and then command the army to ensure the stability of this place. He, who had never commanded an army before, was worried and excited at the same time. He was afraid that he would accidentally lose, but he also wanted to lead the army to defeat all the enemies. It could be said that he was very conflicted. Serenade nodded. He had commanded an army before. For example, the slaves he brought with him. He had also fought in battles before. Now that he had to command more people, he was also very nervous. From now on, the 20 of you are my guards. In the future, you have to protect me. I will take care of your meals and your monthly allowance. Xiao Bei, who had caught enough seafood at the seaside, chose 20 people from the 100 people who came from Sanshui County. These 20 people were the best at catching seafood, which meant that they were ranked in the top 20. The children who came to be guards would not object. They would do whatever the master said. They had already understood during training. Why? You want 20 people, what should we do? Xiao Yuan did not care about the psychological trauma of tripping rope and strongly objected. Xiao Bei also realized that she wanted more people, but she did not want to admit it. She deliberately did not look at Xiao Yuan's angry eyes. She lowered her head and looked at her little feet. Her 10 toes moved back and forth on the sand. When the atmosphere was too oppressive, she said softly, "You guys can divide the rest. I won't steal any more, really. You've already finished stealing. How many people are there? Count. 1, 2, 3, 9 people, 100 guards. How can you divide 20 people? Do you think I don't know math? You divide 10. Xiao Yuan's math was far worse than Xiao Hai's. It took him a while to finish counting. If each person had 10, there would be 10 left. As he spoke, he was calculating how to divide the remaining 10. He had to continue counting. It was very troublesome. Xiao Bei also calculated. She calculated first. If each person has 10, then there are 10 left. Just enough for me. The remainder is very small. No, it's not like that. Brother Xiao Hai, how do you calculate? Xiao Yuan looked at Xiao Hai for help. Xiao Hai clearly had no interest in such a difficult question, but he still answered. If each person has 11 guards, then there's one left. What do you do in class? You have to ask me such a simple question. Oh, so it's like that. Xiao Yuan wanted to refute. His math was not good, but he was good at memorizing. But who asked him to be born later than Xiao Hai? He had to show respect. Besides, Xiao Hai's math was really good. At least it was better than his. Xiao Bei looked up at her brother, Zhang Xiaobao, for help. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan. The two looked at each other and smiled. This group of brothers and sisters was really fun. Nodding, Zhang Xiaobao said to Xiao Bei, "Indeed, each person has 11 guards. There's one left. Then I want 12. You're not allowed to fight with me for the extra." The smart Xiao Bei did not dare to insist on 20 guards. She knew the principle of cutting off friends, so she had always done so. Zhang Gang wanted to write a letter home and ask for more guards from the tribe. He did not want to fight with others for a few spots, but he did not dare. Seeing that no one said anything, he could only agree to the fact that Xiao Bei had one more guard. The 12 people who were ranked first in swimming were taken by Xiao Bei. She chose people so simply. She did not consider whether those who were good at swimming were still good on land. After the others had finished choosing their guards, Xiao Bei came to Xiao Hai's side like a little sister. She grabbed Xiao Hai's hand and shook it vigorously. "Brother, you don't usually need guards. Why don't you let me help you train them? Is that okay? Is that okay?" Usually, it was too difficult to get Xiao Bei to call him brother. Who asked the 4 little guys to be born so close together? Xiao Hai did not care about guards. He was focused on math. When he heard his sister asking for a guard, he nodded and agreed. Xiao Bei cheered. She looked at Xiao Yuan, who had just opposed her, and revealed a unique smile. Xiao Yuan consciously pretended not to see it and turned his head to do his own things. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked on and did not care. If not, life would be much less fun. On the way back, Xiao Bei did not ride a car or ride a horse. She was very happy. This was because she had her own team, even if the average age was slightly younger. Xiaobao, when you go back, give an expensive gift to the surrounding commander-in-chief's manors. Don't worry about money. The friendship between the various places here can't be measured by money. Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao as they walked. Zhang Xiaobao agreed very happily. He did not ask for the reason. There would be a day when he would know, and he would not have to wait too long. As soon as they returned to the manor, Zhang Xiaobao began to give gifts to the surrounding places, according to the status of the other party. The gifts given ranged from 1,000 strings of coins to 10,000 strings of coins. A total of 32 gifts were given, and the total value was 110,000 strings of coins. Those who received the gifts were happy and worried. They were very clear about the value of the gifts now. The lowest value was more than 4,000 strings of coins. Naturally, they did not know that the cost of the gifts was more than 1,000 strings of coins. They took the gifts and wanted to give back the same value, but they were reluctant to give it back. Fortunately, the letter with the gifts mentioned a proposal, which was to hold a joint military exercise together. They hoped that they could cooperate. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were in charge of the site of the exercise, and they were in charge of the food. Agreeing was giving face, and there was no need to return the gifts. One by one, they agreed. Not everyone was only doing it for money. Some people did not care about money. They wanted to see the combat effectiveness of the soldiers in Jili province. Zhang Xiaobao finally guessed part of the content at this time. He asked Wang Wan, "Where are you going to take them to hold the joint military exercise?" "It depends on the situation in Jinchuan. If it's good, we will hold a training exercise in the entire northern part of Hebei province for half a year. If it's not good, we will go to Jinchuan. I'd rather pay a lot of money for it." Wang Wan did not keep a secret. As soon as she said it, Zhang Xiaobao knew what she meant. "Well, it's worth the money. First, we can let the army be familiar with the terrain here. After all, they come from the south. Second, we can let the team participating in the exercise feel our military treatment. Even if we don't win them over, we must leave a deep impression in their hearts. As for Jinchuan, the significance of this exercise is greater, and at the same time, the purpose of this exercise is stronger. Good idea. Whether they agree or not, it's good for us. Zhang Xiaobao praised Wang Wan. Before Wang Wan could be modest, he changed the topic. But if they don't agree to go to Jinchuan, are you really going to do something to them? I believe that our friendship is like the evergreen tree. When I gave them very precious and valuable gifts, I never thought about money. Betrayal is shameful. I believe they won't betray us. Wang Wan said sincerely. When the various forces in northern Hebei province were busy transferring troops for the exercise, Xue Yun flew over mountains and rivers and finally arrived at Jinchuan. Under the shocked gazes of Han Xianfeng and Serenade, she lowered her head and scratched the ground with her claws, reminding Han Xianfeng what she should do. Xue Yun, why are you here? Come, get some water. Kill a cow and drag it here. Hurry. Our Xue Yun flew here from Jili province. She's exhausted. Han Xianfeng knew Xue Yun. When he was in Sanshui County, he often dealt with Xue Yun. When he saw Xue Yun, he was surprised at first and then felt sorry for her. While instructing his subordinates to prepare the things, he walked up to Xue Yun and held her in his arms. To him, Xue Yun was not an eagle, but a person. Serenade took a few deep breaths to calm her heartbeat. Then she said, "She's Xue Yun? The world's #1 eagle? She's really amazing. She can fly here from Jili province. She's worth a lot of money. Let's see what she brings. Take a rest. Come, Xue Yun. Drink some water first. The fresh beef will be here soon. Let me see if you've lost weight." Han Xianfeng treated Xue Yun like a person. He had someone bring a basin of water to Xue Yun and stood to the side to make room for Xue Yun to drink more comfortably. Xue Yun was indeed exhausted. She only ate a little rabbit meat and drank some water because she was in a hurry. She spent the rest of the time flying. When she was tired, she would soar, rest, and continue flying. She lowered her head and gulped down the water. When she was almost done drinking, the beef was also sent over. Han Xianfeng chose the best beef and cut it into strips to feed Xue Yun. Xue Yun slowly swallowed the meat before taking the letter out. Serenade also came close to read it. The first sentence of the letter was not to ask about what happened here. Instead, it told Han Xianfeng that Xue Yun needed rest and beef. Then it asked what happened to Jinchuan. It gave a few guesses and suggestions. If they matched, they could follow the plan in the letter. While the two were reading the letter, Xue Yun, who had eaten and drunk enough, flew to the roof to sleep. Seeing that it was getting late, Han Xianfeng didn't go to Xue Yun immediately after he finished writing the letter. Although eagles had great endurance and could survive for a few days without eating, drinking, or sleeping, he didn't want Xue Yun to go back immediately. Anyway, the carnivorous people were more obedient and didn't do anything out of line. He ordered people to find a lot of soft straw and cotton wool and put them on the ground for Xue Yun to sleep on. Han Xianfeng thought about the plan in the letter and then fell asleep. Xue Yun had another meal. It grabbed the straw and cotton wool on the ground and flew to a crack in the cliff nearby. It began to make a nest, planning to have a good sleep. If it were other eagles, they might not accept other people's help, but Xue Yun was not. It was not stupid. If it were Xue Yun, where would it find such soft straw and cotton wool? It was colder at night than during the day, so it would save as much energy as possible. While Xue Yun was sleeping with many people, dozens of figures flashed out from a lake in the desert. They quickly ran toward the place where the haloxylon amandendron was planted. When the dozens of people came to the outside of the fence, someone shouted, "Who are you? Stop, don't move, or we'll shoot you to death." Following the shout, there was also the sound of dogs barking, adding a bit of noise to the silent night. Under the waning moon, the dozens of people didn't listen to the warning at all. They quickly jumped over the fence and rushed inside. Then there was the sound of rustling. When the dogs' barks got closer, the dozens of people jumped over the fence again and ran back to the camp by the lake as fast as they could. Then there were the sounds of dogs howling. If someone's ears were good, they could vaguely make out that there were human grunts mixed in. Under the night, everything returned to normal. The guards had been ordered not to give chase when something happened. They had to wait until the sun came up. When the red sun jumped out, the guards finally discovered the situation inside the fence yesterday. Several hundred haloxylon amandendron trees had been cut down, and 3 dogs had gone missing. It must be them, the cannibals did it. I knew they didn't have good intentions there. Zhang Yuzhu, who was in charge of planting the haloxylon amandendron trees, pointed at the cannibals' camp and cried. There was no need for him to say it. The others also understood, but they couldn't make the decision. They could only wait for Han Xianfeng to come. Han Xianfeng, who had gotten up early to train, finally received the news when he was about to finish. He rode over with Serenade, looking at the haloxylon amandendron trees and the smoke rising from the cannibals' camp. Han Xianfeng's face was gloomy. Fortunately, Shui Yun didn't go back yesterday. It seems I need to write a new letter. After saying this, Han Xianfeng ordered, continue with your work and pretend nothing happened. We'll talk about it at night. There aren't many haloxylon amandendron trees that were cut down. We'll plant more. Leaving these words behind, the two rode back to the house. Han Xianfeng tore up the letter he wrote yesterday and wrote a new one. He called out to Shui Yun, who was hovering in the sky. After Shui Yun came down to eat and drink, he tied a bamboo tube to it and stroked its feathers. Go back. Be careful, there's no rush here. Don't tire yourself out. It wasn't clear if Shui Yun understood, but she cried out and ran a little. She flapped her wings and flew into the sky again. Gradually, she became a small black dot and disappeared from Han Xianfeng's sight. If there were more Shui Yun, we wouldn't need pigeons. It's much more convenient, Serenade said enviously. They're chickens. You can have as many as you want. The only thing we can hope for is for Shui Yun to find a partner. When we have a little Shui Yun, we'll see if we can raise one. Han Xianfeng's eyes were still looking at the sky. Serenade knew about eagles and said, even if we have a little Shui Yun, it might not be useful. She might fall to her death. First, she'll be pushed or thrown down by a big eagle. Then, even if she can fly, she'll have her wings broken by the big eagle. Not many survive. You're talking about other eagles. Shui Yun isn't that stupid. He'll wait for others to make a thick cushion for him and then throw the little eagle down from the sky. Even if it doesn't learn to fly, he can catch it and throw it again. It's the same when he breaks its wings. With the little prince and his wife's wealth, it wouldn't be difficult for them to pave dozens of acres of cotton for Shui Yun. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. When Shui Yun has a child, will the little prince and his wife do that? Will Shui Yun cooperate? Han Xianfeng, who treated Shui Yun as a human, didn't agree with Serenade. Other eagles weren't smart enough, but Shui Yun, a psychic eagle, would be very cooperative. After all, it was his child. Serenade was dumbfounded by Han Xianfeng's words. Thinking about it carefully, it was true. Yes, Shui Yun is different from other eagles. Other eagles are arrogant, but they are arrogant to everything. Shui Yun is only arrogant in battle. It knows when to advance and retreat. If someone is good to it, it will be very cooperative. That's why it's alive. Many of its enemies are dead. Don't worry about Shui Yun. The little prince and his wife will think about it. Tonight, the revenge will begin. Han Xianfeng looked in the direction of a duo eater's camp and sneered. Night fell again. No one could see Shui Yun, who endured the sleepiness and continued to fly. The moon was a little less, and the sky was darker. Instead, the stars were brighter. Dozens of figures came out from the lake. They went around a big circle and headed toward the fenced haloxylon tree. When they got close to the fence again, the leader finally found that something was wrong. He stopped in confusion. After thinking carefully, he realized what was wrong. There was one sound missing. The dog stopped barking. Just as he was hesitating whether to continue or not, and whether there were any traps ahead, a fire suddenly appeared in the direction of the camp. Then there were screams. At first, there were only 1 or 2 screams, but in the end, there were a lot of screams. The leader of the dozens of figures couldn't care less about the haloxylon tree in front of him. He ran back to the camp first, followed by dozens of people. If the moon was round and bright enough, one would be able to see the anxious expressions on their faces. When they returned to the camp, some people in the camp rushed out, and some couldn't meet up with them. In addition to the people who ran out without any problems, there were also people who were on fire, making heart-wrenching sounds as they ran around like headless flies. The people immediately began to look for tools to hold water. They ran to the lake to scoop up water and splashed it on the people on fire. When the sound gradually stopped, the whole camp had become a sea of fire. The remaining 400 or so people looked at the scene in front of them and wanted to cry. Until now, they hadn't seen the people who attacked the camp. It was as if the camp itself was on fire. But this was impossible. They knew who did it, but like Han Xianfeng last night, they couldn't find any evidence to prove it. Unwilling to give up like this, the Duergans spread out and searched for enemies that might appear in the surroundings. As long as they could find one, they would have an excuse to cause trouble for the Tang people living here. At the very least, they would have an excuse to dispatch troops. A few of the duo eaters lit torches from the campsite and walked all the way to the outside of the fence. Just as they realized that they had gone in the wrong direction and were about to go back, someone suddenly shouted from inside the fence, "Who are you? Don't move." The man-eaters were stunned. Only then did they realize that they were still holding torches. One of them shouted, and the man-eaters threw down their torches and prepared to leave. Before they could run a few steps, a buzzing sound came from the sky, and then countless arrows fell, nailing them to the ground. Those who hadn't died for the time being could still vaguely hear the sound of dogs barking. Before daybreak, more than 100 people with crossbows in their hands made a large circle and returned home. If someone carefully smelled them, they would be able to smell the smell of cooked oil on their bodies. When the people who had endured until daybreak checked the camp, they found many arrowheads made of stone. Looking at these arrowheads and the ashes of the arrow shafts, the people understood that if they asked the Tang people about these things, they wouldn't admit it, because the Tang people didn't have stone arrowheads. If they didn't believe it, they could look at the people the Tang people found. They were dragging a few corpses, and the corpses were full of arrows. Those arrows were definitely iron arrowheads. When questioned by the Tang people, the people also questioned them. Even though both sides knew that the other side was the culprit, neither side was willing to reveal it. Chapter 799. Zhang Shuo felt that he had found an opportunity. The more he spoke, the smoother he became. He repeatedly told Li Longji about the various benefits of taking over Jinchuan. How could Li Longji not know about the benefits of taking over Jinchuan? Jinchuan did not belong to the Tang Empire. The terrain there was dangerous, and if he could rule it, it would be much easier to deal with Tubo. However, it was precisely because of this that he felt that he could not take over that place. If he did, it would be tantamount to falling out with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Tubo, who was originally in an honest state, could easily be forced into a corner. Not only Tubo, but the Tujua might also interfere. Hearing Zhang Shuo say that he would send people to seize Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's slaves, Li Longji's eyes revealed an inexplicable emotion. This emotion was directed at Zhang Shuo. Zhang Juling, who was guarding at the side, looked at the emperor's expression and found that something was wrong. He was too calm, and his eyes narrowed because of Weiwei. He was worried that Zhang Shuo would anger the emperor, so he quickly interjected. "Lord Zhang, Jinchuan is where Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan earn money. I think that the people there will only listen to the two of them. It seems inappropriate to send people to manage it." Just as Zhang Shuo was thinking of a way to make the emperor agree to his suggestion, he was interrupted by Zhang Juling's words. He looked at Zhang Juling with a bit of dissatisfaction. When he saw Zhang Jiling look back at him with a gaze that was not easy to see in the past, his heart trembled, and he finally reacted. He carefully looked at the emperor again and did not mention who should be sent. He then glanced at Yuan Rong, who spoke up for him just now, and said, "Your Majesty, Zhang Jiling is right. Think about what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are thinking. I wonder if your Majesty has a plan for the two of them?" When Zhang Shua said this, he felt very helpless. He understood that the emperor's support for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan was very firm. If he wanted to touch the two of them, it seemed that Jin Chuan was not a good opportunity. Moreover, recently, he also felt that the emperor's attitude towards him seemed to have changed. It was not that the emperor suddenly distanced himself from him, but when he spoke to him, there was less of the usual casualness and more of a business-like manner. This was not good. He had to think of a way to make up for it. Li Longji glanced at Zhang Jiling, but didn't say anything. He nodded at Gao Lisher, who hurriedly stepped forward and reached into his bosom. When he looked again, there was a letter in his hand. Then he turned to the others and said, "After Xiao Bao and Cuckoo found out about the fire beacon, they came up with a plan. Gentlemen, please take a look." As he spoke, Gao Lisher delivered the letter to Yuan Rong. The content of the letter was slightly more than usual. Yuan Rong first skimmed through it, but then his eyes widened, as if he had seen a ghost. He carefully read the letter from beginning to end, and his body couldn't help but tremble, as if he had seen something shocking. The others couldn't help but be curious. What exactly was written in the letter that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sent that made the practical Yuan Rong so scared? "Lord Yu, may I take a look?" Li Linfu, who had always wanted to learn and surpass Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan one day, saw that Yuan Rong didn't hand the letter to anyone else. So he reminded him. Yuan Rong blankly handed the letter to Li Linfu. He stared blankly at the letter. Those who knew him knew that this was his expression when he encountered something special. Li Linfu took the letter and carefully read it word by word. After reading it, he also shivered and sucked in a breath of cold air. He handed the letter to another person and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, this subject understands today what it means to be so intelligent that it's almost like a demon. This subject is inferior." Li Longji's head moved up and down slightly, indicating that he agreed with Li Linfu's words. In his heart, he thought, "Do I need you to say this? Otherwise, how could I have been fooled? Who would have thought that something would happen to Jin Chuan, and that the two of them could be used to deal with the people of northern Hebei province?" The letter was passed around one by one. Everyone who read the letter had an unusual expression. They were frightened, but at the same time, they felt sorry for the people from the martial manor. Those people didn't pay the rent tax, and some people didn't even pay the tribute. Look at what happened now. His Majesty sent 2 children to see whether they would pay the rent tax or not in the future. Those who looked down on the children might pay enough, even to the extent that it was unbearable. Zhang Jiling read the letter and said as if he was talking to himself. At first, he thought that it was just 2 children who were easy to deal with. Later, he understood that His Majesty sent the 2 most powerful people in our province. Alas, it's time, luck, and fate. His voice was not loud, but in the quiet environment, others, including Li Longji, heard it clearly. No one refuted Zhang Jiling's words. As he said, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could be said to be the 2 most powerful people in the Tang Empire. They should be deeply honored to be sent to Jili province to suppress the martial manor in northern Hebei province. Li Longji had the feeling of being praised for his ability to judge people and was in a very good mood. If it weren't for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, he would have to marry a princess. Although it was a princess in name, it was still uncomfortable. Only when there was no other way could he use women in exchange for a period of stability. Who would know that every woman I marry is a disgrace? Li Longji thought to himself. Zhang Shua also finished reading the letter. He thought about it and said, "Your Majesty, if something really happened to Jin Chuan, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan will lead the troops to battle. If the people of the martial manor don't cooperate and they take action, will the capital send troops to help? What do you think, Minister Zhang?" Li Longji did not answer, but asked in return. Zhang Shuo hesitated and said, I think that if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan find an excuse to send troops to other martial manors, the imperial court can't directly send troops to help. They are using friendship as an excuse. If they send troops, it will be a private army. Your Majesty, when the time comes, you will need to punish them and reprimand them for sending troops without permission. Well, that's natural. Is there anything else? Li Longji agreed with Zhang Shuo's statement. Even if he wanted Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to beat the other side into submission, he had no choice but to issue a statement when the two of them were making a move. Otherwise, if someone else followed suit and secretly sent out troops, should he interfere or not? Seeing that the emperor asked him again, Zhang Shuo continued, the imperial court can't send troops, but it can make a move to deploy troops. It will put pressure on the martial manor in Hunan province and make them not dare to act rashly. Li Longji was satisfied. He was very angry just now that Zhang Shuo wanted to go against the two children at such a critical time. He asked the others, who has other ideas? Everyone was silent, which meant that they agreed with Zhang Shuo. Chapter 800. After a few more days of hard flying, the thinner Shuiyun finally returned to the capital of Jili. Seeing Shuiyun's tired appearance, Zhang Xiaobao and the others felt sorry for her. They had already prepared to slaughter the cow, and Zhang Ying accompanied her, saying something that they did not know if Shuiyun could understand. It's actually a meddlesome person, not the Tubo or the Turks as we guessed. Zhang Xiaobao, who had received the information, was very puzzled. That doesn't prove that the two places are not behind this. 500 people are probably not enough to fill the gap between the teeth of the slave army. Fortunately, I wrote a letter to tell them not to act rashly. Otherwise, if they were all wiped out, where would they find an excuse to send troops? Wang Wan was very happy to see the information. This was good. With an excuse to send troops, they could mobilize the people in the commander-in-chief's office. Then, it would be the critical moment for the next step. Zhang Xiaobao also understood Wang Wan's plan. This time, she would take the soldiers away. Through the delicious food and drinks along the way and her commanding skills, she would be able to greatly impress the soldiers. When the time came, they would have more fighting strength. Even if some people could not be recruited because of their family members, they could spread the news of their strength to others through their mouths. If they attacked other places in the future, it would also be a blow to the morale of the other places. But there was still one more thing to solve. The Duo Eaters are not hostile to the Tang Empire yet. If we attack them, will there be diplomatic problems? How can they not be hostile? Cutting down our haloxylon shuttle trees is a provocation to us, an invasion of the Great Tang. Our Jili province is not the North military camp of the Northeast. The ones who should be thinking about diplomatic troubles are the Duo cannibals. They need to pay enough to appease the anger of the Great Tang. Wang Wan did not care about international relations. The current Tang Empire was still very powerful. Well, send a letter to the people participating in the exercise and tell them to be prepared. I believe that our friendship can pass the test of war. Seeing that Wang Wan insisted, Zhang Xiaobao naturally would not continue to object. As he spoke, he spread out the paper on the table and wrote a letter. Along with the letters sent to the surrounding governors' manors, there were also letters sent to the capital. The capital didn't have a spirit eagle like Shuiyun, so they still didn't know the exact situation in Jinchuan. Peng Zhoupass had probably only just received the news and sent people to deliver the letters to the capital as quickly as possible. However, it would still take a long time for the letters to arrive. Li Longji had just finished discussing with Zhang Shuo and the others what they were going to do next. They were prepared to fully support Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, at least in name. As for the deployment of troops, they would just treat it as normal training. If they did not do anything, the soldiers would get rusty. As a result, they were shocked by the news they received just as they were about to make a decision on Hebei province. Lisher, Kuku, is about to start a war. When Li Longji received the news, he was tasting his tea. This year's new tea had arrived, and there were many top-notch teas. Ever since he said that there was no need to send him the best tea every year, Li Longji was finally able to enjoy them. Otherwise, he would have to continue drinking the original first-class tea. Gao Lisher understood the emperor's meaning. Although the emperor only said a few words, he wanted to ask whether they should hold some kind of drill in Jiannan province. Your Majesty, this subject believes that we cannot start a war in Jiannan province at this time. First, the troops there are not conscripts. They are the soldiers that the local Jidushi recruited using the money collected from the local area. Just like what Xiao Bao and Cuckoo said, soldiers with conviction are the most reliable soldiers. Li Longji didn't say anything in response to Gao Lisher's words, but his eyes showed his approval. Nowadays, the capital and the surrounding prefectures were already recruiting conscripts. Although the treatment was not as good as that of Jili province, compared to recruiting soldiers, it was better to solve the worries of those who wanted to join the army. Therefore, the results were not bad. As for the work arrangements, in a few years, one could be sent to the local government offices to serve as yamen runners, while the other could be sent to the business enterprises of the Zhang family and Wang family. This was what they had agreed on at the beginning. Gao Lisher continued, "Secondly, our great Tang should not say anything about this matter. Even if Xiao Bao is this subject's adopted son, the two of them are very important to our court. Jinchuan is not our great Tang's territory. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo sending troops is their business. If our court speaks up, wouldn't it be admitting that Jinchuan belongs to Great Tang? What would Tubo think?" In fact, Li Longji also thought the same, but he didn't want to say it out loud. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were helping him to guard a large area. If he didn't help at a crucial time, what would he do if the two little guys threw tantrums? But when it came from Gao Lisher's mouth, it was different. "That's fine. I'll listen to Lisher's recommendation. As for Xiao Bao, I'll write a letter to them. I believe that the two of them also think the same. I'm just afraid that the other commander-in-chief's manners might not agree." Gao Lisher quickly took over the task. Li Longji also said, "Let the Jiangnan East Navy cooperate with the Hunan South Navy. The location is at the front line of Dengzhou." The news was quickly sent to Zhang Xiaobao. After reading it, he smiled and said to Wang Wan, "Li Longji is telling us to send troops in his own name and give us compensation in other aspects. Now, it's up to the people of the Commander-in-Chief's manors to cooperate." When the people of the Commander-in-Chief's manors, who were asked by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to cooperate with the drill, received Zhang Xiaobao's request to hold the drill in Jinchuan, they didn't react at first. They only thought that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanted to bring troops over to show off their past achievements. Considering that all the supplies along the way would be provided by Jili province, and they didn't have to pay for it, and that they could help train the troops on the long journey, they agreed. But when the troops were out and on the road, the people in the capital who had accepted their bribes finally sent the latest news. "What? There's news about Jinchuan? No, it must be that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's place is in danger. They want me to help them fight." But when he received the news, he immediately understood. He rolled his eyes and wanted to refuse to participate. The advisor beside him advised, "We have to send troops. If we don't, the first place the two of them will attack is our Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. Besides, there probably isn't a big battle to fight over there. Otherwise, how could the two of them have the time to mobilize troops here?" You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.